Hello! Hello! Oh, wait. Hold on a second. Whoa. Ah. And?
Name game.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome. It is I, Trooper SJP, and this is the Academic Foxhole. And, I'm gonna mute this background music for you, and also do that, so it's not too loud for me. Hi, everyone. How are you? What are you doing? What's new? What's exciting? It is I, Trooper SJP, and this is the Academic Foxhole, and we are playing, it's the Mac Thursdays, and we're playing, Disco Elysium, and I just got in from work. And I know you're thinking, Trooper, how come you just got in from work? Don't you, doesn't your class on Thursday finish at 4:15 in the afternoon? And to that I would answer, yes, it does. That is correct. It does finish at 4:15 in the afternoon, but gotta talk to people, students. I'm eating a hand pie that I made myself because food. Well, that's done, everybody. So I've been having this thing going on. I'm going to sing in a second, but I need to tell you what just happened. So there's this thing that's been going on with me. I had a dental problem, and I have to get a crown. Actually, I think I already had a crown. I had to get my crown replaced. Anyway, the point is, they had a drill into my teeth, drilled in there, and I went in. I got the temporary crown put in there. There it was. And I had to give up what they were supposed to go in like, hold on a second. I got a root canal, and then I went to my dentist. They put in a temporary crown, and I was supposed to get the final crown done like 2 weeks ago, maybe. But I had to cancel that appointment because I had work to do. I had schoolwork. They had a meeting or something. No, I knew what it was. I had a PhD thesis defense that I had to be a part of. So I had to cancel that meeting. And then they made the meeting like 2 weeks later. So I'm going to go in and get my permanent crown put in on Monday. The problem is that this temporary crown, which I now have just bit in half and it is no longer going to fit into my mouth, started just falling out of my mouth. And because it was only temporary and I think it was in there too long. So when I eat food, sometimes the temporary crown would just like come off, and I was like, oh no. And I was just right now eating food because I thought, oh, I should probably eat food before we get into this super deeply. And I was eating this little hand pie, very chill. I made it myself. It's very exciting. And in the process of eating this hand pie, my temporary crown, not filling, my temporary crown came off, and I bit into it and I broke it in half. And so now I do not have a temporary crown in my mouth. I just have a weird tooth spike hanging out. I think it's fine. I want to talk about this hand pie. It's really good. So, Max Ryder finished my Alone Against the Flames bid. You enjoyed it? I'm so glad. Oh, the pie is very good. Be right, thank you. I'm looking like this because I was teaching today, and I did not have time to get out of my teaching drag into non-teaching drag. So you used to get me in my teaching drag today. I need a t-shirt that says use office hours. The thing about that is, students feel like they should be able to meet with you anytime because they need to meet with you anytime. So, it happens. I do want to tell you about this hand pie. It's really good. You want to know if it's breakfast? Teach these criminals a lesson they won't ever forget. When is your next solo Call of Cthulhu stream? Turns out I was in the Flames one, but I completely forgotten it. Teach these criminals a lesson they won't forget. Yes. So we can talk about scheduling. I can't tell you everything about scheduling, but we can talk a little bit about it before I sing, because I have things to sing. B. Wright says, oh, thank you for those bits. Tripper, you need to be careful. A missing crown means people may not realize you are Twitch royalty. That's true. Please be careful not to go post it with the remnants. Yeah. How will I get my decrees passed if people do not know that I'm Twitch royalty? Terrible business. That was not an answer. I mean, I don't think I would call it breakfast. Like, I grabbed I had a piece of toast this morning, so I think technically this is lunch. I had to go out the door. Skybanak says, having once been a student long ago, I understand. I also understand when a professor referred me to their office hours when I approached them after class. Yeah, but then they're like, but I can't meet with office hours. I need to know now. So, I've got to figure out. Also, it's post-COVID, Skybanak. One of the things that COVID taught students is that they can meet with their professors at any time, at least via Zoom. And I'm not super excited about that, but I don't quite know what to do about it. I don't. But I still haven't told you about this hand pie, which is pretty amazing. So it's a brunch, yeah. So this is the first real meal I've eaten today. And it's a sweet pie, not a savory pie, so I don't know if this would actually count either. But we're going to count it for now. You said dry post for breakfast when I was trying to lose weight. Oh, I'm not trying to lose weight. I was busy. Look, I have a choice. Oftentimes in the morning between more sleep or a full breakfast. And I pick the sleep every time. Because I can eat later. But I want the sleep now. I can eat anything I want. So, let me tell you about this hand pie. I'm very excited about it. And this one's really, really cool. So, I have this book. Thank you, by the way, for letting me eat. I appreciate that. I thought to myself, I should probably eat now before the end of stream. I will also eat again after the end of stream, but I figured I should probably eat now too. So let me tell you about this hand pie. So, I bought this book. As you all know, I'm trying to bicycle, right? And I did this metric century, which was 100 kilometers, 62 miles. I did that last winter. And I really wanted to build myself up to do another one now that I have a better bike. And part of that, I'm off schedule because I had to take a break. I wasn't able to ride for a couple of weeks. Now I'm trying to get back into it. I'm behind. I'm trying to finish my Conqueror challenge where I'm riding around the perimeter of Iceland and I'm a little bit behind schedule. Not the point. The point is that when I did my metric century, that was rough. And it was because I wasn't getting enough calories. So I got this book, which is a bunch of recipes that are...
We're in the money.
Ooh, I'm excited to sing. That are made for people who are running, riding, that kind of thing. So they're recipes that will give you about 150 calories-ish, more or less-ish, between 100 and 300 calories, but that will that your body will process cleanly and quickly. That it's that are basically made for you to eat while you're running or cycling.
Name game.
And be right. Oh, I'm going to tell you about the hand pie, and then I'm going to sing. And I made the first one, which was a rice thing. It's rice, eggs, cheese, and ham, and you make them little rice bars with them. And I had that, and I was like, oh, they've got this this hand pie recipe. And they have sweet and they have savory hand pie recipes. And I made the sweet one, which is I made my own pie crust. It was very cool. And it's blueberries, blueberry preserves, cream cheese, and a little bit of brown sugar. And I made that. I did the first batch, and I was like, oh no. When I made it, I spilled it. Like I made some of the hand pies, and then I spilled it. I was like, oh no. So I ran out of blueberry jam, blueberry preserves, but I did have apricot preserves. So that hand pie I just ate
Name
was
game.
blueberries, apricot preserves, cream cheese, and a little bit of brown sugar. And I'm going to tell you something. That was delicious. That was delicioso. It was awesome. And I'm going to let you know that not today, probably Tuesday when I have time to cook again, because I think I'm going to have to do 9 hours of office hours on Monday to meet with my advisees. Extra office hours. My office hours are normally on Tuesdays from 12:30 to 2:30, but I have to meet with all of my advisees so we can talk about enrollment. And so I think I'm going to have to spend about 9 hours on Monday from I don't think I can do 9 hours. I can probably do, I can, like 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. at night
We're
on
in the
Monday,
money.
just meeting with students to talk about their enrollment so they can enroll in classes. Anyway, I'm going to have to do that Monday, so I probably will not be able to cook, but I can cook on Tuesday. Anyway, the point is that they also have a recipe for curry chicken hand pies. And I got the ingredients for that, so I'm going to make some curry chicken hand pies so that I can have those on the go because those will be really easy to eat and all that. So I'm very excited about that, and it's very delicious, and I wanted to share with you the success of my hand pies. People are saying things. I'm going to have to read them and then also sing. Let's see. It's the missing crown. Krellin says, Trooper, you're always welcome to eat on stream. In fact, many of us worry about your health, might prefer that. Well, I try not to eat too much on stream. Hey, Disco Dear Diary, how are you? Hey, you remind me to have a good dinner, so more power to you, right? A good dinner. And by the way, I also want to let you know, in case you're worried, that last night, rather than doing lots and lots of grading, so I'm going to have to do grading during Critical Role today, I made chili and a pasta salad. So once our stream is over, I've got chili waiting for me, so I'm going to have a good dinner, and and I have dinner for the next 5-6 days. So I don't have to worry about cooking for the next 5-6 days. I will have food. It'll be delicious. I'm very excited. The Missing Crown could be the next Bond movie, and it should be. I'm just going to have to be careful when I eat. So how late am I streaming tonight? 9:30. That's what I got. And hey, I see all of you. So let's see. Yeah, it's a super Scabby Neck. It's really good. It was like fresh blueberries and that kind of, there's like that kind of fancy jam. Got some fancy apricot jam. I always think the apricot jam is always fancy just by nature of being apricot. That's just me. B. Wright says, if a steak pie contains steak and an apple pie contains apples, what in the name of Twitch am I eating? Hands. Oh, actually, B. Wright, I can tell you what I'm eating. Would you like to know? Would you like to know what I'm eating? Would you like to know? I can tell you. Also, dairy bread and fruit sounds like a meal to me. Yes. So the next time I added streams weekly mukbang. See, Scabby Next knows apricots are fancy. Apricot jam is fundamentally fancier than strawberry jam. Why? I just feel like because apricots seem fancy. But so B Right wanted to know what it was that I was eating, and I'm going to tell Scabby Neck what I was eating right now, this second. What I was eating was priest. Have a little priest. Is it really good, sir? It's too good, at least. Then again, they don't commit sins of the flesh, so it's pretty fresh. Awful lot of fat, only where it's sat. Haven't you got poet or something like that? Now you see the trouble with poet is how do you know it's deceased? Stick to priest. Heavenly, not as bland as curate, but not as bland as curate, but not as hearty as bishop either. What is that? It's fop, finest in the shop. And we've got some shepherd's pie peppered with actual shepherd on top. And I've just begun. Is a politician so oily it's served with a doily? I've won. put it on a bun. Well, you never know if it's going to run. Try the fryer, fried it's drier. No, the clergy is really too coarse and too mealy. Then actor, that's compactor. Yes, but always arrives overdone. I'll come again when you have judge on the menu. Bum, bah. Sorry, that's just that was your Sweeney Todd moment for us all. I feel like we all needed a little bit of that, and it's also explaining why I have a hand pie. That's all you have to know. There you go. Grape jelly is common and my favorite. I actually also really like grape jelly, but it doesn't feel as fancy to me. And please note, this is all my feelings as a kid. Like, as a kid, I always felt like grape and strawberry were like the regular jellies, and anything else was fancy. Like, apricot was fancy, peach was fancy. Basically, all the other jellies were fancy, even though I just kind of don't. They were the same cost, and they were still Smuckers, but they just felt fancy. Oh, wait, sorry. The most fancy, if we're gonna go like levels of fancy, like grape and strawberry were your regular jellies, and then like apricot and peach, all of that was like fancier. But the fanciest was orange marmalade. That was like the fanciest jelly because I think it was foreign. It was from the UK, and so therefore it was super fancy. Now, it wasn't really from the UK. It was just some American company. But the point being is that always seemed like the fanciest. That's what I was going to say about that. Sweeney. Oh, Disco Didari, you're singing along? Thank you. Yes, I want all the people singing the Sweeney Todd with me. I wonder if it sounds like the curate's egg. Good in parts. Sweeney Todd isn't my favorite musical, says Curlin, but A Little Priest is one of my absolutely favorite show tunes. I love that. A Little Priest is so good. It's such a great show tune. Also, Angela Lansbury was brilliant. She was so good in that. Such a good piece. I murdered those blueberries. I murdered them. I did. Choo-choo, how appropriate. All the level 2. Thank you. Raspberry. Ooh, actually, I do feel like raspberry was fancy. Yeah, raspberry was still fancier than grape and strawberry. And please note, this is completely arbitrary and not based in fact or truth in any way. It's just that, like, when you're a kid, you get these, like, senses that some things are fancier than other things. Like, I always felt like ginger ale was fancier than regular cola. Because if you went to the grocery store and you wanted to get ginger ale, it would be in a different aisle. It wouldn't be in the soda aisle. It would be in the same aisle as, like, tonic and seltzer. Like, there was that one aisle that had, like, all the sort of mixers for mixed drinks, for alcoholic beverages. And ginger ale was always in that aisle. And so ginger always felt like it was super fancy to me, even though I just don't think it really is, but it always felt that way to me. You can't make Wonka candy without murdering a few blueberries. Yes, indeed. The fancy jams and preserves were the ones Grandma had to buy fruit for. Ah, yes. Cherry. Ooh. Cherry and raspberry were also fancier than grape and strawberry. Cherry's a very fancy jam. Mixers, yep. For me, marmalade is nice, strawberry's nicer, but lemon curd, ooh, lemon curd. Okay, so lemon curd is gonna have to be like top fancy because a lot of stores wouldn't have lemon curd, so lemon curd is like top level fancy when it comes to our preserves. That said, if you do not mind, I have some singing to do. I see them right here. Let me look. That's 9 minutes ago. 9, 13, 18. The name game. Come on, everybody. By the way, this song, The Name Game, is from the 60s, and I'm wearing a black turtleneck, which makes me feel very early 60s, so it feels appropriate. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F, or an M will appear. And then I say bow at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fanner, and foe. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain, then a fee, fi, and a mo. And then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. But if the first two letters are ever the same, I drop them both and say the name. I like Bob. Bob, drop the B's, Bo, Ob, or Fred. Fred, drop the F's, for Red, or Mary. Mary, drop the M's, Mo, airy. That's the only rule that is contrary. Be right, be right, be right, Bo, E right, banana, fana, fo, fee right, fee, fi, mo, me right. Be right. I'm scrolling down because I got more. Hype train. Scabbinac. Scabbinac, Scabbinac, Bo, Babinac, banana, fana, fo, fabinac, fee, fi, mo, mabinac. Scabbinac. Ooh. Aren't too special. 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 Bo, barn too special. Banana, feta, fo, farn too special. Fee, fi, mo, marn too special. Aren't too special. Wandering DM. Wandering DM. Bo, wandering DM. Banana, feta, fo, fondering DM. Fee, fi, mo, mondering DM. Wandering DM. Grinny Weasley. Grinny Weasley, Grinny Weasley, Bo, Benny Weasley, Banana, fana, fo, Finny Weasley. Fee, fi, mo, mini Weasley. Grinny Weasley. Termination shock. Termination shock, termination shock, termination shock, banana feno for fermentation shock, fee, fi, mo, murmuration shock. Termination shock. Veravosted. Veravosted, Veravosted, bonnet. Veravosted, Veravosted, ooh, hold on. Veravosted. Veravorsted. Veravorsted, 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 banana feno for Veravorsted, fee, fi, mo, Meravorsted. Veravorsted. Do I have some more before I go? No, the name game. Woo! Thank you for those gift subs, Be Right, and I'm going to read out those sub messages because they're important. They're important to me. Be Right says, hello, Trooper and chat. I bring you another chance to sing the name game, thank you. I need to think of something funny to say. Just let me think. Be right back. Wah, wah, wah. Love it. I love it. Also, Scabbinac says, oh, Hype Train. Thank you for that Hype Train. And we have also been given some bits. And when I get bits as a thank you, I sing We're in the Money, as sung by Ginger Rogers in the film Gold Diggers of 1933, which means I do sing it in Pig Latin. Hello, Jay Stillman too. Boy, did I wonder what a compelling distinct stream. You know, it's before I get to play the game, I've got to go and sing to like give thanks to the folks, right? And I'm gonna sing We're in the Money. However, I will be singing it in Pig Latin because that is how Ginger Rogers sang it in the film Gold Diggers of 1933. So just be ready for it. Beatnik, see Max Rider, you know I've got that. By the way, side note. You may not know this, but my dad was a beatnik, and he was a member of the Second San Francisco Renaissance. So he was like doing all sorts of beatnik art in the 1970s, and he hung out with like Gregory Corso and Bob Kaufman and Lynn Lifshin and a bunch of like the second San Francisco Renaissance. So he was part of like the second generation of beatniks, super arty bohemian type. So just so you know, like I come to my beatnikness, honestly. B-Roy was like, I was thinking the Man from U.N.C.L.E. vibes, or maybe the Persuaders. Ooh, the Persuaders I'd go for. Absolutely. Yes. One of the best things I cooked back in my SCA days was a beef and apricot stew. Oh, I wish I had an electronic copy of the recipe for you. I would totally eat a beef and apricot stew. That sounds so good. I would love that. Yes. So I'm 9 followers away from 2K. Oh, I know what my 2K sub goal is, by the way. I don't have it written down anywhere, but I know what it is. I have figured it out in my mind, and I will tell you. Atomic says, by the way, fair warning, before I play the game means 3 hours of interesting intellectual conversation before 45 minutes of gameplay. I'm totally going to play, but I have to sing We're in the Money first, as sung by Ginger Rogers from the film Gold Diggers of 1933, which means I am going to sing it in Pig Latin. Be forewarned. For those of you who do not know the song, it goes like this. We're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. We're in the money, the skies are sunny. Old man depression, you're through, you've done us wrong. Oh, we never read headlines about breadlines today. And when we see the landlord, we can look that guy right in the eye. We're in the money, we're in the money. Because I sing like that because it's the 20s. It's 1933. We're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. So now I'm going to sing in Pig Latin. So you know what I'm singing. Here I am, hey, the anime. Here I am, hey, the anime. E way up, gay, up, way up, way X to tit, gay, way out. Here I am, hey, the anime. E the ice skates are on, say. Old man, the idiot, and pray, we are a who, you're staying with young way. E way, when you eat red, lay on slay, F way at Brian's lay, ooh, tay day. And we see the and the order will look up the I got ring the I, we're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. Thank you so much. Oh gosh, I have got so much to share with you. I'm so excited. But I do need to read out the bits messages. They're important. B Right says, Trooper, you need to be careful. Missing crown means people may not be able to realize you're Twitch royalty. Yes, thank you. And then the second bit said, it was about the hand pies. Oh. All right, good. Okay, good. I've got water. I've got a Dr. Pepper. And because of Max Ryder, I put the Dr. Pepper in my little cup holder so it will not spill and fall. And I think I'm golden, more or less. But I do have things to tell you. Rissa, by the way, that amazing megaphone emote was done by Jer, one of our wonderful mods. And I love a good megaphone. It is hard to find a good megaphone, but I found one, and now I can get my 1920s crooner fantasy on, which I appreciate very much. So let's see. Monster of Megaphone. Thank you. I think I first heard Win the Money in a Warner Brothers cartoon. Oh, probably was it the cartoon where the cat inherits a bunch of money and then wants to hide it in a mattress? Was it that one? Because that one is a really interesting cartoon. Maggie is settled to listen to me. Smart. Dr. Pepper's my favorite, but mostly drink Pepsi because it's cheap. So if it's the same one I'm thinking about, it's really fascinating because in that cartoon, this cat inherits a bunch of money, and I believe they're like in the money, being like, oh, I'm in the money, right? But then they're going to hide all the money in their mattress. And some like bird or whatever it was like a little Tweety bird type was like, oh, you shouldn't put the money in the mattress. You should put it in the bank. And the cat's like, why would I ever put my money in the bank? Are you kidding? So clearly this cartoon was created after the Depression when people were still very hesitant to put their money in the bank and was trying to get them to put their money back in the bank. And so the bird was like, oh, yes, the reason why you put your money in the bank is because if you put your money in the bank, then the bank will take that money and invest it into factories so America can be great. And you'd see all these like, they played the Raymond Scott Quartet's Power Plant, that song, the one that goes, bum bum ba da 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 da, bum bum ba da 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 da, ba 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 da 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 da, ba da 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 da. It's the one they always use whenever there's like factories and assembly lines. So then like it shows all these like factories in that very, very 1940s style artwork, right? Very sort of WPA, kind of like 30s, 40s style art, where like the money goes into the factories and then the people make things out of the factories, great industrial goods, and those industrial goods make a profit for America. And then that profit goes back into the bank in terms of interest that you get. And so putting your money in the bank is not only a way for you to earn interest, but it's also good for America. And I just remember watching that as a kid being like, this is really fascinating because this is clearly about dealing. And I was a kid. I'm a nerdy kid. I was a nerdy kid. I know it. I was like, oh, this is dealing with some kind of anxiety about like people not wanting to put money in banks. And then it made me think about, this is me as a kid. I'm telling you my thought process as a 12-year-old, 13, 14. Then I remembered all those, because you remember, if you are my age, like Max Ryder is, and also Krellin, and also Rissa, some of the people here, you will probably remember what it was like before cable when you had to watch a lot of things from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s on rerun on television, right? So, of course, Leave It to Beaver, but also a lot of like the Dead End Kids and like Ma and Pa Kettle and things like that. And I remember it must have been Ma and Pa Kettle. There were like a number of these like movies from clearly like the 30s where people would like actually just hide all their money inside their mattress. And I remember thinking that was like a kind of funny as a kid. But I didn't think it was too weird because my parents, remember, for those of you who are too young to know, this was before ATMs, right? ATMs were just starting, but like they were not really widespread. And so like my parents, when they got their paychecks at the end of the week, month, every 2 weeks. I don't remember. They would actually just get it in cash. And I remember they would bring the cash home and they would put it inside one of the books on our bookshelf. There was like one of the books they would keep the cash in. And so they would like, because you'd have to pull out money so you could spend money to buy groceries and bus tickets and all that. Like you needed like money because you were not writing checks and people didn't have debit cards yet. And you weren't spending, credit cards was not a thing really. So like my parents would always pull out cash. They would like, they put some of the paycheck in the bank and the rest they would put in cash, and they would put the cash in a book and they'd put the book in the bookshelf. And that was where the money was for in our household, was like in a book in our bookshelf. And so it didn't seem too weird that people would stash money in their home. But I remember being struck by the ways in which this cartoon was clearly about trying to get people to put money back in the bank after the Depression, which I thought was super interesting. That's what I was going to say about that. Let's see. B. Wright says, when I visited Waco, I was impressed with at the wide range of soft drinks on sale from the vending machines. Sarcasm. Yeah. 20s to 40s references probably dominated for many people by what WB Looney Tunes. Yeah, I think that's actually true, Jay Stillman. I think I got most of my early references through cartoons and the fact that we just had a lot of reruns on TV. And if you wanted to watch TV, that was going to be it. Yeah, dime stuck in couch cushions. We're sitting on a gold mine. Acme production. Absolutely. The song is called Powerhouse. That's the song by the Raymond
Somebody's
Scott
watching me.
Quartet. I always feel that somebody's watching me and I have no privacy. Whoa, I always feel that somebody's watching me. Tell me, is it just a dream? Ba-da-ba-bow. Thank you for that follow. Oh, motto. Thank you so much. We are currently at 1,992 followers, which means we're 8 away from the 2,000 follower mark when we've got a surprise. Little Rascals, Three Stooges, absolutely. Yeah, I'm still a very nerdy kid, says Riss I am. Hey, Wandering DM, I just, by the way, you just got a gift sub from B. Wright. And I sang your name game, by the way. Every Saturday morning, black and white movies with my dad. Yep, absolutely. My mom put money in envelopes. That's how she budgeted. Yeah, so we'd have like in an envelope in the book. So why, is that why accountants are sometimes called bookkeepers? You know what? Probably not, but I like it. 8 followers at 2K. I found it. It's a merry melody called We're in the Money about toys in a toy store. Oh, if you link it in the Discord because I want to watch it. Atomica says, fun academia. I'm doing a 6-page essay on the roles of women in modern gumshoe murder mystery, comparing it to the treatment and placement of women in previous eras. Oh, really? What media are you talking about, Atomica? Tell me, I would like to know, because I love some gumshoes, and I can give you recommendations if you're interested, depending on what era you are talking about, because I have got some recommendations, including one of my faves, but I just need to know what era you're talking about, so if it's appropriate, that's all. Oh, look, a button. Hey! The name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B on F, on M will appear. And then I say bo at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fenner, and foam. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain. Then a fee, fi, and a mo. And then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Praxagor this before ya. Praxagor this before ya. Praxagor this before ya. Bo Baxagor this before ya. Banana fana fo faxagor this before ya. Fee fi mo maxagor this before ya. Praxagor this before ya. The name game. Prax, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. So I got some packages in the mail today, and I was like, am I going to show you all these packages? Am I going to do a show and tell? Nah, I don't need to. But then Prax showed up, so now I have to. I got something in the mail, and I have to show with you all because it's also a way to do some hype. That's all. So I'm going to just show a thing right now. It's not all of it, but it's a part of it, just for the record. Oh, and Trooper, Nick and Nora game is almost ready to be placed. Ooh, that's exciting. Okay. All right, this is not as thick as I'd like, but I have something I want to show you all that I ordered, and it just came in the mail. It clearly needs a little bit of love, a little bit of unsmushing, because it came clearly very smushed. But I have something to show you all that just came in the mail, and it's relevant to Prax. And you cannot see what I'm doing, which is fine. Here, let me do this. Let's see. The specific book is 6 Kill, had to pick from a list. So just the most modern one to contrast. Yeah, nice. Spencer novel, nice, okay. If this is Teach and Drag, I want to see the formal dinner attire. Oh, Valtiel, I have got some formal dinner attire, which just want you to know it. So I'm supposed to be reading the old Dreamland supplement to prepare for my Down Darker Trails game. Ooh, that's a good one. What's in the box? I will tell you. Are you ready? So, what you may or may not know is that on Saturday, 2 things are happening. 1, I'm going to finish The Outer Worlds tomorrow. That's it. I'm starting at noon and I'm finishing it. That's going to happen. But also on Saturday, Prax is running a 12 or 14-hour charity stream for Veterans Day, and she's having a bunch of RPGs on her channel. And one of those RPGs is called Death's Agents. Why? I don't know, but I'm in it. It's a D&D one-shot, and she said to us, make a 3rd level character. And whenever I'm asked to make a D&D character for a one-shot, ever since I found out that D&D Beyond makes random characters, you could just like put in a random character, that is now like my great joy for one-shots. I'm like, okay, random character, what do I got? And then I get something that I probably would not have made otherwise. And so I am playing an Aarakocra. And I was like, oh, I've got a bird mask. Oh, I can just reuse my bird mask. And I was like, no, but this Aarakocra is a cleric rogue, and I want a different vibe. So here is my mask for my cleric and my chaotic good Aarakocra cleric and level 2 cleric, level 1 rogue. And I will just say there's one more piece to this costume which has not arrived yet. And I am very excited for it to arrive. It was not super expensive, so it might be poor quality, but I'm hoping it'll work for stream purposes. That like at least via a camera it'll look decent and good. But I'm gonna tell you, I've got something like, but this is my. So that's your sneak peek. It just came in the mail. My unboxing. Surprise. How's that? I'm so excited. New mask. Saturday's not tomorrow. You're right. It isn't. Tomorrow is Drynax. New mask. Yes. Hal Sandfellow. You look like an evil. The Muppet Show. Sam the Eagle. Yes. You have to wear that whole outfit. I'm going to tell you, I've got one more piece coming in the mail, and it's supposed to come tomorrow, which means if it arrives tomorrow, I get to go down to the office, pick up the last special part of the outfit. It has not arrived yet, but it's supposed to come tomorrow. If it comes tomorrow, that means I get to pick it up and I get to have it for the stream on Saturday. The last part of that point is that at 5 p.m., I will be playing in this game at 5 p.m. Eastern over at Praxis channel. And you can come and see me be this cleric-y Aarakocra. Yes. Your character should be super serious all the time. Ha-ha! Oh, I actually do love that. A cleric rogue, interesting combination. Yeah. Bok, bok, bok. Sam Eagle. Claricocra. Yes. I don't know what we're gonna do. We will find out what happens. But crossbow wielder, because if I get advantage or they're being flanked, then I can get sneak attack damage on people when I hit them with a crossbow, and I am excited. It's hard to soar with eagles when you work with turkeys. He worships. You asked. I wrote it down. There is a there's an elven god whose name is like part of the Forgotten Realms pantheon. It's like the chaotic. This is chaotic good elven god that's part of the same pantheon as Corellon, and is like the chaotic good god of the Aarakocra, and that is the one that Siki is worshiping. And I will also note that I also did all of my traits randomly as well. So like my motivations and all of that stuff, I've got all that in there as well. It's very exciting. It's a fun RP thing for me to do. Let's see. It's too bad they're not a paladin. Then we would have a legal eagle. Yes. Okay, monkey is tapping my face, so I'm pretty sure it needs to get fed. Guest troopers are allowed to play the game now. Oh, all right. Listening but stepping away from the keyboard. Also, anyone who donates $100 or more will get a plush of Bricks, the new mascot for Fisher House. Oh, cool. Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down? Wait. Yes, Wandering Demon, something like that. It's like Elena Filani or like Ari Filani. It's like an AF, like A. The first one is like an AE. Like it feels like Airily Faruzabalk. Yes, that's the one. That's the one. Let's see. That's it. It's a salute to all gods, but mostly to Airdrie Fania. That's the one. Airdrie Fania. That's the god. That's the goddess. That's the one that I worship. Yep. Thank you. That's the one. Max said it. So I am very excited about that for that one shot. And I think there was something else that I needed to tell you all. I suppose I can tell you later, really. I suppose I can tell you later. I remember the Dragon magazine she first appeared in. Oh, it's been a while. So today we're going to be playing some... Oh, I should tell you this. I've got everybody confirmed for my Streamiversary stream. So on the 18th, which is a Saturday, so not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after that, I'll be doing a Streamiversary stream. And it'll be a 12-hour-ish stream. And I will be... it's going to celebrate my seventh year streaming on Twitch, which I'm very excited about. That's cool. 7 years streaming. And I'm going to be doing three RPGs, really. 2 regular RPGs and 1 solo RPG. Max says I should probably go and do Call of Cthulhu, but that'll take too long. So I'm going to be doing Chevalier, which is by Susanna Grace, who's great, and I love her, and I enjoyed playing with her, so I'm doing that. And it's one of the Wretched and Alone ones, which means it uses the Jenga tower, which means it might be done quickly. And then I'll be doing Sandman, and also a game by a friend of mine. The tableau system in the playset is called Twilight Road. So it'll be like a really cool long day, and I will be raising money for charity during the stream. And I thought, what would be the charity? And I wanted to use Twitch's charity integration because I've not used it before. And I thought, that seems like it could be cool and fun. And so I did. And what I did was I'm going to be raising money for the GLBT Historical Society because it has archives. It collects archives of like LGBTQ history stuff. It's in San Francisco, and it's got all of the papers of a bunch of really important figures. It's got a lot of really good and important historical stuff. And I do love some history, and I teach queer history, so I thought that'll be awesome. So for my Streamiversary stream, I've got 3 RPGs going, 2 group, 2 solo, and they're all kind of like storytelling games, but Sandman is from '85, so it's super old. And Tableau's brand new, but from an old friend of mine. And I'll be doing a solo game by Susanna Grace. So all of that is going to be really good times, I think. And that'll be from basically noon to midnight, although it'll probably go to 1 on Saturday the 18th for a charity. So I'm really excited about that. And everybody is confirmed. So now I just have to go and do all the work to get all the cards and whatnot translated over to RPG world and get the, all the things you got to do to do production stuff. So that's going to be happening. And Sunday, by the way, is the premiere of the third act of Carousel Court. So be there for that. I don't need to tell you those things now, but this is so here's the thing. I kickstarted a game. This is 20 Strong. Oh, hold on. Whoop. This is 20 Strong. It's by Chip Theory Games. They do these like really cool little teeny games, and I kickstarted this, and this is very exciting. They're really known for like having really high quality components, and this is a 1-player game, by the way, and it is a 30 to 40 minute game. Hey, maybe if I die really fast on Saturday, I can bust this out and play this with you all as well. So that's exciting. 20 Strong. Let's see. Artie says, I have to tell something to everyone. Tripper's awesome. Artie Snack. You're going to make me all emotional. I'm already emotional today, by the way, group, because today's class, I'm still doing the unboxing. I was going to play. It's like, yeah, but I'm going to do the unboxing first, since we're here. And Prac started it. Today's class in the history of African-American music was MTV. And it was all about like talking about the beginning of MTV, and we did like we talked about like the sort of important early MTV figures and what it does and all that. And so we talked about like Michael Jackson. But one of the videos I did was Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston, and it made me cry because, that song. I don't know if you've seen the video for that song, but in the video for that song, like she's like a little girl. Like there's like a flashback to her as a little kid, and her mom is there being supportive of her when she's going to try out for like an audition of something. And at the very end of the whole thing, when she does her big triumph as a grown-up Whitney Houston, and everybody's like all excited to see her, she looks to the side and there's her mom there, and she rushes off the stage and gives her mom this huge hug. And it's like, it just got me all teary-eyed. So I was like, oh. I believe it's the same. No, Atomica, it is not. So Sandman is a game that came out in 1985. It is a story narrativist game, like almost 2 decades before people thought those things existed at all. It's this 1985 game it's a story-driven based game. It is really a narrativist game. You can just read it and you're like, oh, I see. But it's from 85, before anyone thought this thing happened yet. So I like uncovering this history. It was a huge flop. People were not ready for it. And it's by Pace Hitter, who also did Time Masters and Star Ace. Anyhow, all the player characters have amnesia is what the deal is. And I always wanted it. Like, I looked at the box of the game. The box was so evocative, so interesting, and I wanted this game so badly, but I was 13 and had no money, and so I could not buy it. I bought Paranoia instead, and then, of course, because the game was a flop, it went away, but then I found it on eBay. So I'm going to be playing that game. We're doing Sandman, Map of Halal, at 1 p.m., and then we'll be doing the second big group game, which is Twilight Road, at 8 p.m. And in between those two games, I'll be doing Chevalier, which is a Gundam mecha game by Susanna Grace. And it has nothing to do whatsoever with Vertigo. It's way too early for that. Yes. I'm emotional today, too. Our dog, Christy, is having balance issues, and the vet said she might have had a seizure. Ooh, but they're not sure. Yeah. So we've got to keep an eye on her, and I'm emotional. Like, oh, yeah, I get that. I'm going to send really good thoughts to Christy. I'm sending good thoughts. Yeah. How much? Max, it was super cheap on eBay because nobody wants that game. So I was able to get it, the box, the whole, like, unopened version of that game for, like, no money. It was, like, super cheap. And I wanted it really badly because I wanted it, like, I always wanted it as a kid, and then I finally have it. So, and now for my stream anniversary, I'm going to be playing it, which is this, like, when hey, good puppies. You know what I mean? I'm looking this up right now. Map of Halal. That's not probably how to spell it. So right now, you can get Sandman on eBay for $25. You can get it for $15 too. But I believe there is, all of those are pre-owned. You can also get them for more if you want. But there's a brand new copy of Sandman for $21.71 from Canada. And it still has, since it's not been opened, it still has the sticker on it. Because if you did not know this about Sandman, I'm going to read you what the sticker that was in the shrink wrap said. Win $10,000. Solve the Sandman mystery. Details inside the box, or write us. So they had this, and it's called a dramatic entertainment game. And they had this competition where you could win $10,000. But hold on. $10,000 in 1985 is worth today. So that's the equivalent of $28,000. So you could have won $28,000 because of a mystery in the box. I don't think it was ever resolved because the game like flopped super hardcore. But I was so intrigued by it. I didn't know what it would like. You wake up, you have amnesia. What does that mean? Like, how does this game work? I always wanted to know, but I didn't have it. And now I have it. And now I'm going to run it on my Streamiversary stream. And I am very excited. So the actor strike is also over. Yes. So I think oh, hold on. I didn't tell you what this was. This is a Starship Scavengers, which is another RPG that I kickstarted. A little indie game. And this one is a solo. It's a solo RPG. I've been looking at solo RPGs on Kickstarter because I thought, oh, solo RPGs are kind of cool because I can always run it. Like if players get sick and they can't make it to game, I can always just run a solo RPG and they're really fun. So I've been having a really great time. I've been having a really great time with them, and so I've been like kickstarting some of them. So my Streamiversary, this is a bit of a spoiler. With my last Streamiversary, I've only done one big Streamiversary stream, and that was 2 years ago. And with that one, I did two things. One thing I always wanted to do, which was run a game in German, play in a game in German. And so I got to play in a game in German. That was really great, Call of Cthulhu. And then I invited a bunch of people that were like some of the very, very first people that I ever streamed with to just play a game of Fiasco with me. And that was also... The $21 from Canada costs more to ship than buy. Yep, it does. Ooh, this, by the way, this packing material is really nice. So like I really had a great, that was really great. So for this next Streamiversary, I thought I want to, again, I want like some kind of like past future thing, you know, if it's a Streamiversary, I want to commemorate it in some way. So Sandman is one of these early RPGs that I really wanted as a kid, always, but I never had it, right? So like I thought this will be really cool, being able to play Sandman is like a full circle sort of moment. I thought that would be really cool. But then the question is, who do I ask to play? And because the first adventure, there are 4 adventures in the box. And the first adventure, which is the one that we're going to do, takes place in the 40s in Morocco. It's kind of like a French resistance situation. So it's like, oh, if it's a French resistance situation, I should ask people who have played Kolos, which was my first long-running RPG on Twitch. So there's this. So I've got Rocket Fox, Laugh Love Lindy, and also Simon Wandering DM, who was very kind enough to go and be in I had a special one-shot where I did like high-level politicians talking about what to do about the Wannsee conference. And Simon said yes, and I've got Lindy, I've got Rocket, and I've got Simon. And so I'm really excited for that. So they're all going to go and play a really weird old game with me that is super old, but then they're also from my the first campaign that I ran. And then the other one, Twilight Road, is a brand new game, so that's cool. forward thinking, but it's by a friend of mine who was in the Call of Cthulhu group that kept me in the hobby. When I was like thinking, oh, D&D is full of a bunch of bullies who are mean to me. And there was then this Call of Cthulhu group that took me in when they were all like super old adults, probably in their mid-20s. And they took me in as a high school student, and they were this wonderful group. And Chris Allen is one of those folks. And he also, as it turns out, there are things you don't realize about your friends. He also is the person that created RPGNet. Like he runs RPGNet. I had no idea that my old friend was like the guy that runs RPGNet. Oh. But anyway, he's made a number of games. He's done a lot of games before, and he has this brand new game out. And he asked me if I'd run it, and I was like, absolutely. So I'll be doing this super old game. This brand new game from a super old friend, and I'm bringing back the crew that I played Something Is Wrong Here with. So that'll be Billy, Bill the Forest, Marcus, and also Pumpkinberry. So those are the two big RPGs I'll be running, and I'm really excited about it. In the middle, for that middle part, I'll be doing Susanna Grace's solo RPG, Chevalier, which is about Gundam, which I think will be awesome. I'm excited about it. The French guy played a Frenchman, yes. And this is on Saturday, the 18th of November. And it'll go from noon to midnight. And I am quite excited about this because it's going to let me play like 3 things. And I'm really hoping that I can do this every year, every other year, because there are like really exciting things you can do. And I have I've got to invite, anyway. I've got people that I want to invite for the next round. And I just got, this is the last unboxing before we start. So there's a thing that Simon knows about, but you all don't know about it because it's a secret. You'll find out. But let's just say it has to do with collecting examples of genres. So if you remember, do you all know about the Old Gods of Appalachia? That RPG? I kickstarted it actually because I'm really into Appalachian folklore, and the Appalachia, I played the banjo after all, which is just hanging out over there. Whoop. Oh, by the way, you don't know this, I'll tell you. So there's my banjo. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And this right here, right next to it, you may not know what that is. That's my electric banjo. I actually repaired it myself just between the last Thursday and this Thursday. My tuning peg came off, and I had to I bought replacement tuning pegs, and I actually just repaired my banjo myself. So now my electric banjo is now in working order. I replaced the strings, replaced the tuning pegs. So my electric banjo works. By the way, just thought I'd let you know. Anyhow, Old Gods of Appalachia. Secrets are no fun. Secrets hurt someone. Stripper nurse from The Office. Nice. Old Gods of the Appalachia. That's this sort of like Appalachian folk game. And I was like, cool. And guess what? I just saw an advertisement for another Appalachian folk horror game. And this one's from Savage Worlds. It's a Savage Worlds game. It's called Holler, an Appalachian Apocalypse. In the mines, mills, and mountains of Appalachia, evil stirs. Ghosts, monsters, and fae stalk the wilderness, while industry and pollution choke the land in an all-pervasive gloom. Polluted streams and tainted landscapes are ravaged by the mysterious blight, and ordinary folk eke out an existence in an isolated, haunted landscape. Caught between their fear of the supernatural and the crushing control of the company, they look to you to lead them. As heroes of Holler, you are everyday folk, determined to fight against the oppression of the company. To put things right, you must forge bonds with your neighbors and your kin, nurture a fierce independence, and strive to kindle a spark of hope. Do you have what it takes to overthrow the industrial oppressors and cast the demons back into the darkness? Can you survive the Holler? So, the Holler is a role-playing game of gothic industrial horror in early 20th century Appalachia. Requires Savage Worlds. Core rules to play. So, I just got this one. So now I have 2 Appalachian folk games, and actually I have 3 because there's another one. It's a PDF only, and I have a third one now. So now I have 3 Appalachian folk horror sorts of games in my possession. Just note it. That's all I'm going to say. I love how many string instruments get electrified. Oh yeah, me too. And I love the way they get electrified, right? Like I always find that really super interesting, what it sounds like. Now, the electric banjo I love my electric banjo. It's fancy and awesome. However, I want a different one. The one I have is really cool. It's like a high quality, and they don't make them anymore. Deering just stopped making this. It's a Deering Crossfire. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It is a beautiful instrument. You know what I'm going to do? I won't tell you. Maybe I'll tell you. I won't tell you. I might tell you. We'll see. We'll see where we're at 9 o'clock. Yeah. Yeah. But there's a second, the Deering Crossfire is a particular style of electric banjo. And I would really like to, there's a different, Neckfield is a different style of electric banjo that I would also like to get my hands on. Nice, thanks. I'm going to leave now, but we might talk again later. This guy blackmailed me, and I don't like it. I just thought you should know. He blackmailed me, and I don't like it. And in case you were wondering, I need to find a way out of this conundrum, because it's bad. We're playing Disco Elysium. We just talked to the union boss, and he's blackmailing me. Well, it all depends if I can find my gun before he can. I don't think he has my gun yet. If he can find my gun, I'm screwed. Screwed. Wow. Okay. What? Okay. Let's see. Have you ever heard of The Hills Rise Wild? It's an old miniatures game. I played at Pentacon and Fort Wayne. Oh, no. I should know about it, right? Yes? Max says, Old Wizard Whately kicked the bucket, and his precious copy of the Necronomicon, a book of powerful magics, is up for grabs. Now 4 factions of monstrous power-hungry hillbillies must ransack the ramshackle shacks of Dunwich in a frantic search for the treasure. Ooh. Oh, good night, Atomica. Good night. Sleep well. And, oh, Atomica, if you're still here, wait. Ms. Tree by Max Allan Collins and Terry Beattie. Ms. Tree, the comic book. So back in the 80s, when creator-owned comics were first becoming a thing, like really like the new wave of that, like indie comic books, Max Allan Collins and Terry Beattie created a hard-boiled detective comic with a female protagonist called Ms. Tree. Her name was Michael Tree, Ms. Tree, Mystery, Mrs. Tree. And it was really much inspired by Mickey Spillane, very hard-boiled detective. And it was first on Eclipse, I think it was, or Dark Horse, I think first. Eclipse, then Dark Horse, then Renegade, and then later, much later, DC Comics picked it up and like did some, because DC Comics at that time, like late once we hit the 90s, was like they had brought in Sandman and Shade the Changing Man and all that kind of stuff. They're trying to do more adult, interesting things. So they picked it up. Anyhow, if you were looking for female gumshoes of a hard-boiled variety, Ms. Tree by Max Allan Collins and Terry Beattie, and I believe there are some collected editions that you can get probably on eBay or wherever, because I believe they do have some graphic novel versions of them now. They've done some collections. Actually, I think I have them. And I think they did not go in order that they were published in because they thought that the mid-range one would be a better introduction than the first-range one, which, whatever. Anyhow, if you want it, there you go. Ms. Tree, Terry Beattie, Max Allan Collins. And Max Allan Collins, you may know as the guy who wrote The Road to Perdition. And he writes a lot of, later crime stuff. That's what I'm going to tell you. Oh, thank you, Rissa, for the link. Thank you. Hey, Hawkeye, how are you? We're going to deal with our... So look, I now have 3 Appalachian Horror RPGs. 3 of them. I just need 1 more. That's all. Thomas says, well, I have to stick mostly to the novel I'm reading, so I might not be able to use that particular one, but I'll still check it out. At least you might be able to enjoy it for fun. I was expecting it to be Miss Terry. Doing well. Just finished a D&D session with the gang. Oh, tell us about the D&D session. Who were you playing? What happened? I had some questions for you, if that's not too much trouble. Oh, you put in screenshots of the hills rise wild and table. Thank you. Thank you, Max. That's awesome. Atomic says, I will be comparing characters in the novel to their tropes. The girlfriend makes a good Girl Friday trope, but with a lot more skill and equality with the gumshoe. Oh. Now, Atomica, I can give you another recommendation. One, I can recommend Ms. Tree because I think it's amazing. But the 80s saw a whole lot of lesbian crime fiction. Like lesbian detectives. I think, what was her name? Anne Forrest, I think. Anne Forrest did a whole bunch of lesbian novels about, oh, what was her name? Is it Anne Forrest, or am I making that up? Anne Forrest? Oh gosh. Anne Forrest, maybe that's not her name. Detective fiction. Catherine V. Forrester's name. I'm so sorry. It's not Anne Forrest, it's Catherine V. Forrest. And she has a whole series of detective novels by what are their names? What's the names? The Kate Delafield mysteries. So she's like a lesbian mystery. Oh, dang. Excuse me. I just looked her up on Wikipedia and I just realized something that I did not know. Not only you should be hearing game audio, by the way. Boom. Not only did she write the Kate Delafield mysteries, she also wrote this lesbian separatist 1970s lesbian utopian separatist trilogy called the Coral Dawn trilogy, which I also read. I only recommend that to certain people because it is very much of its time and it's doing a very specific thing. But if you're interested in Lady Gumshoes, the Kate Delafield mysteries would be one. Also, there's another lesbian detective novel that's put out by Hard Case Crime. So if you do not know the publishing house, Hard Case Crime is a publishing house. I have one of their books, just not right here. So, you know, in the 1950s, all those pulp novels came out, all those pulp crime novels that were pretty amazing, but they mostly were lost because nobody saves pulp novels. So this one company, not too long ago, decided to reprint all of those, to do a lot of reprints of those 1950s and 60s pulp novels. And they also then hired, because you know those pulp novels had these amazing covers painted by painters, right? And so they actually went back to some of the old painters from back in the day and had them paint brand new covers for these novels. And so they started off with these old novels and they also commissioned new novels. And so they've been publishing crime novels like once every month or two. They had a subscription that I was a member of at one point, from the 50s to the present day, and they commissioned a new one, which is another lesbian crime fiction pulp novel, and it's called Homme Fatale, about like a hot butch lesbian who I think gets into trouble. Anyhow, so if you're wanting some lesbian detective fiction, I recommend those. There it is. Krellin says, so I'm back now and I have a random ass question. And not a random ass question. Is the ass random? Okay, is it a random ass question, a question about asses? Or is it, you know, I'm just messing with you. I know. I would really like to find out what's going on there.
Before the cargo container, its draw has not lessened.
We're gonna go. We're able to leave now, and we are going to do that, just for the record. And I'm gonna read about the random ass question. I do enjoy reading it that way because it tickles me. Ooh. My question is, does anyone know why the order is LGBT, not some other order that makes some kind of sense? The Alphabet series by Sue Grafton features Lady P.I. Oh, nice. I'm not sure to expert on asses, but you never know. I do have an answer for that one for you, Krellin. So let me get out of here first, though. Let's get out of here, shall we? Yeah, let's get out of here. That sounds like a good read, but might not be useful for our specific essay. No, that's just for fun. The gumshoe is Spencer, a very stereotypical white male detective. The females in the story are written by very strong and capable. Even the victim is probably the weakest female in the story, is written realistically, and her downsides are discussed and investigated without her being judged. Oh, interesting. Ask question. Also, you know what's really interesting, Atomica? I am going to recommend, sort of, for anyone who finds such things interesting, reading some of these 1950s pulp novels, because they are more complicated than you might imagine. And many of the women are more... 3 T's, how idiomatic. Are tougher than you'd expect. And a lot of the protagonists are not great protagonists anyway. Look, 1950s pulp novels really give you a very different vibe of the 1950s.
How'd you like our harbor?
You've been in there, he means. Talked to the boss man, too, probably.
Was nice enough.
It's but a rest area on the path leading across open plains.
He notes solemnly, then turns to you with a wide smile adorning his face.
You talk to the boss, eye to eye, like men of the plain. If you have any more questions, I'm set to talk.
Any idea who killed the hangman?
A mercenary, eh? Who could have killed him? That's indeed the question. Why even do such a thing?
He shakes his head solemnly. I have an answer for you, Krellin. Let's see. The Merc was hanged with a very specific type of cargo belt, often used in heavy transport areas, for example, harbors.
What a thought.
I know.
Why would noble workers resort to such a thing? Unless they were pushed, of course.
Interesting. Pushed how?
Your dead guy was an enemy combatant.
Hold up, what does that mean?
He was an agent of the opposition, attempting to undermine our honorable efforts.
Did you kill him?
I ain't the murdering type, but that's just me. Large organizations like our union have all sorts of men, with all sorts of skills.
Interesting.
Understood. This has been of limited use. Still, thank you.
No problem. I wish the best to you in your search. Sure, I'm glad it's not my search.
He takes a sip from his flask. Should I ask him for the key? I mean, I can. I'll just take the key from him. Does that mean I'm going to use it? Everard said, do you have a key to a door?
A key, huh? What
He
door
runs
is
his
it
fingers
supposed to open?
through his mustache. I was hoping you could tell me.
Of course. I got you. You don't know anything.
He taps the side of his nose with a little
I
wink.
got that key right here. And let me tell you, it's mighty good of you to help us out during the strike. Working class solidarity, as they say.
I want to answer Krellin's question right now rather than look at these answers because they make me nervous. But I'm going to read them and then I'll answer the question. I saw an opportunity and I took it. I'm a hustle grinder now. I heard something about a weasel and it didn't sound like a local polar weasel, if you know what I mean. I'm not opening this door for myself. I'm opening it for all working men. Yeah.
I knew this man was a commie. And
He
it's a
smiles,
good
tilting his
thing
head.
too. Thanks. What you're looking for is a basement door behind the greenhouse. That's behind the whirling in rags. That's all I know. Our organization is what you call compartmentalized. Means we keep out of each other's business.
Interesting.
But where did you get the key from?
The janitor gave it to me. Nice fella. We talked about life and things that really, truly matter.
His gaze wanders off into the
None of
distance.
this mess we're in. This jiving and juggling. What's it for? To feed our children, I guess.
Anything else I should know about this task, this weasel person, when he'll be home?
I'm more of a philosophical dock worker.
Ah.
I like to talk about the big picture stuff. Who I am, who you are, what we are fighting for.
The man takes a big sip from his flask. I like him. I don't like his boss.
It means he's not going to tell you because he doesn't know.
Yes.
But he will shoot his mouth off with you now that you're working for Everard.
Nice.
Who he is and what they're fighting for. This is interesting.
It is interesting.
Ask him about the Hardy Boys.
Oh, yes, I will. But I'm going to answer Krellin's question first because that's more pressing. Yes. Wait. B Right just said something in chat that I have to read out loud because I have to. I'm forced to. If we're going to answer a random ask question, we may need to gather a crack team. Hey! That's good. Atomica says, so my intent is to compare those specific characters to characters that share their tropes and to compare how they were allowed to behave compared to older examples. Interesting. Like Johnny Dollar, his secretary was his girl Friday, and she was clever and playful and helpful, but she was still a ditzy secretary. But in this story, the girl Friday, is a Harvard-educated psychologist who can step in and really give large notes and assists. Oh, that's really interesting. So here's the thing. 1950s pulp novels are way more interesting than you think they are. Like there's one, it was called, what was it? I'm seeing the cover. There's a guy, he's a con man, right? And he's going to go and do like a big score. He's got to like steal a bunch of money from some like fat cat industrialist or whatever. And this fat cat industrialist has a secretary. And she's like a small town secretary who doesn't really know anything about the crime world or conning people or anything like that. She's just like a nobody. She's just like a ditzy secretary. And he's like, I'm going to go and use this ditzy secretary so I can do my con. And she's like, oh, I don't know anything about it. And he and his like partner, they're like the big, long story short, she knows very well about conning people and she cons him. She takes all the money and leaves him with a rap for it because he was too dumb to realize that maybe that secretary lady might know a thing or two. And that like all of her beginner's luck at being really good at conning maybe not have been given beginner's luck. And as the reader, we know that this protagonist dude is not as smart as he thinks he is. And that secretary lady is way smarter than he thinks she is, but he doesn't know. And we know. And he goes down for it in the end. And I'm like, that's on you. So it's really interesting how a lot of the female characters in these pulp novels from the 50s and early 60s, a lot of them are a lot stronger and more interesting than you would have. Because, side note, because they're coming out of the same tradition as like Barbara Stanwyck in Double Indemnity, some of these like noir, like there are a lot of really interesting, strong female characters in noir. Marlene Dietrich, Barbara Stanwyck, et cetera, et cetera. So what's interesting to me is that even in the past, there is a space for these really interesting, strong women who basically win in the end, right? Because this guy didn't respect her and underestimate her, and she's like, cool. All right. And her boss treated her badly, too. Her boss didn't treat her very well. And the protagonist was technically the guy that gets screwed over at the end, but we all knew that was going to happen. And you just wanted to watch that train wreck. And so it's really interesting how we often think that in the past, everything was like worse and we're way more empowered now, but it really depends on the genre you're thinking about. And there's just like some things that would surprise you. But again, these are pulp novels that never became literary classics and people often don't even know about them anymore. So, yeah. Wait. Okay. Yes. Oh, I know they're interesting. I just want to compare differences between the eras. Oh, absolutely. For instance, there's no stereotypical the evil one hits the hero in the head, KOing him for hours. Interesting. That's because guys back in the 50s had really weak skulls, you know? But I also think it's really fascinating because there are a number of novels, a lot of these novels in the 50s, the protagonists are not people that you root for. They're not smart or capable. They're often very arrogant and blind to their own weaknesses. And you do not identify with them, nor do you necessarily want them to win. You know it's not going to work out well for them. You just want to find out how it's going to go. And some of them, the protagonists, are actually just really awful. I'm reading one right now, The Curse of the Spider Monkey, which I have not finished, and I slowed down on it. I need to like pick it back up again. And like the protagonist is just an awful serial killer, just terrible. And like there are all these novels from the 50s that put you in the mind of people that you are not supposed to identify with or feel good about, and you don't, and they don't win. Fascinating to me because we just don't write that way anymore. And I've seen so much writers' advice being like, you always have to make your protagonist likable, and you should also make your villain likable and understandable. And like your villain has to either be like charming or smart. And I was like, yeah, this is not advice people took in the 50s. People in the 50s wrote in a very different way, not all of them, but like the pulp crime stuff, where you don't even have to like the protagonist or enjoy them in any way. There's a lot of like train wreckiness about some of the kind of crime stuff in the 50s, which is fascinating because I have never read stuff like that. I'd never read stuff like that before that are just so like, and it's not glamorizing, and that's the thing too. There's some stuff nowadays where you get like oh, good night, Atomica.
Somebody's
I did.
watching me.
I always feel that somebody's watching me, and I have no privacy. Whoa, I always feel that somebody's watching me. Tell me, is it just a dream? Ba-da-ba-bow. Thank you for that follow. Wait. I need to see who did it. Who's the follow? Strawberry Scone 3, thank you for that follow. Thank you so much. Yes. Go to bed. Dick Dastardly scoffs at smart and likable villains. Villains used to be built worse. They did. And what's really interesting is that we do have a lot of anti-heroes or villains, but they're often glamorized and seen as like cool. And I gotta tell you, in many of these ones that I've read, they're not cool. Not cool at all. And they're not glamorous. And they're just not even, like, they're just, yeah. And it's just really fascinating how different, because I know so many people who are like, well, I've had so many people say to me, well, I won't watch that show because nobody's likable. And there are just a lot of books from the 1950s where nobody is likable on purpose. You know what I mean? And it's just fascinating to me. I guess I'm too old school. I don't want to like the villains. Yeah, but see, Hawkeye, oh, interesting. I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's really interesting. That's all. Like, I just think it was really fascinating the ways in which this style of writing just... it would never have happened in old novels that were mainstream. This is all dime store pulp novel stuff. And it's just not how we tend to write them nowadays. It's fascinating to me. Oops, now I'm the one doing the distracting. Okay, so LGBTQ. So this is what happens. We're going to have to go back to originally, if we go back before Stonewall, for the most part, you had separate organizations for gay men and lesbians. So you had the Mattachine Society was the big U.S. Gay men's advocacy group. And then you had the Daughters of Bilitis, which was the big lesbian advocacy group. When Stonewall happens in '69, we had a bunch of riots that are happening, right, leading up to that. After Stonewall, you had the Gay Liberation Alliance, which is the first big sort of like multi-gendered gay rights activist group. So the Gay Liberation, the GLA. And I think they ended up becoming the GLF. Anyway, so it was called the Gay Liberation Alliance. At the time, gay was an umbrella term that included also a lot of people, including lesbians, et cetera, et cetera. So there's like the Gay Liberation Alliance. And the Gay Liberation Front was the first organization, the GLF, the Gay Liberation Front, and then it became the Gay something Alliance. Anyhow, so the Gay Liberation Front is one of these first big, coming out of New York, first big activist groups. And they were very intersectional. They had a bunch of people involved, doing a lot of stuff. They were like really working for things like anti-housing discrimination for queer people, et cetera, et cetera. And LGBT, not GLBT or BLGT or TBGL. B writes like, oh, I was wondering, is May in Spider-Man an anti-hero? Do not get your coat, Hawkeye. You stay right here. That's too good for you to leave. So the Gay Liberation Front, boom, there we are. And we would talk about like gay pride, gay liberation. Good. That's '69. So as the movement, it doesn't stay that way for very long. So what ends up happening is it's first very intersectional, really worried about like class issues and like rural queer people. Like it's very sort of like intersectional and wide ranging and with a lot of different politics. And it doesn't take too long before a number of white privileged gay men think that they should not be talking about things that are not gay issues. Like they don't need to talk about abortion. They don't need to talk about poverty. They don't need to talk about a bunch of things that like, and also they're kind of in a kind of a slightly macho space. So there were a lot of laws that were against cross-dressing, so that if a person were wearing, it was illegal to wear more than 3 articles of clothing, not your assigned gender at birth, which was used to attack trans people, drag queens, et cetera, right? And so one of the first things that this particular faction did was they were like, we should not allow trans people to be at Pride, which was the celebration of the Stonewall riots, which started the whole thing, which was started by trans people. So they started getting kind of weirdly like narrow in their viewpoint. and a bunch of women did not feel as if their needs and issues were being addressed. So they broke off and became the lesbian. There was like a bunch of different, like there's like a lesbian subgroup that came out, and then like Star was from like the street transvestite action revolutionaries. So a bunch of these sort of groups sort of split apart, and that's going to be happening for a while. And then as we move into the sort of slightly later in the 80s, you've got all these organizations that are like the gay this, the gay that, et cetera, et cetera. And when women start sort of wanting to agitate for more representation and being actually considered more concretely, they're like, we actually want the word lesbian in the name. We don't want this to be just the gay alliance. And I know that you say that gay is an umbrella term that also includes us, but you're actually not including us. So we want our name actually in there. So a lot of these things that were like gay organizations, like gay choirs, gay this, gay that, became gay lesbian things. So when we're moving into the 70s, we start getting gay lesbian alliance, gay lesbian this, that, as a way to try to make sure it becomes, lesbians wanted to be represented, basically. So that's going on. And then we're going to hit the 90s. So the late 80s, early 90s, what ends up happening is the AIDS crisis hits. And there is a lot of activism happening around the AIDS crisis and a lot of new ideas. This is when Gen X reclaims the term queer as an umbrella term, because a lot of these sort of folks were wanting to, like in the face of the AIDS crisis, sort of create a bigger coalition. And really sort of like the separate paths that people had taken in the 70s, they wanted to bring them back together. So you get Queer Nation, ACT UP, a bunch of like reclamation is happening. But in this process, we also get then the rise of bi activism. So you have like some really important bi activists start happening in the late 80s, early 90s, and they fight really hard to be represented as well. And so we go from GL to GLB. So now things start calling the GLB. But this is at the same time that bi folks are wanting to get represented, then you get trans folks also wanting to be represented, because all of them have all been there all the whole time. So then we get GLBT as the acronym, GLBT. And in this process in the 90s, there's a whole discussion about why is G first? Like, we feel like that's not undoing some of these power dynamics. And so a swap goes from GLBT to LGBT. And that's happening in the 90s for the most part. So the acronym started off just being gay, and then gay lesbian, and then GLB, then GLBT, then LGBT, to sort of like highlight women who've not had their voices heard. And then sometime in the aughts, a lot of places start becoming GLBTQ. And then later in the aughts and in the teens, we start getting LGBTQIAA, et cetera, et cetera. But if you think about going back earlier, you've got things like the Gay Straight Alliance. Gay Straight Alliance is like what you had before you started adding in other representation. Yes, right? So that's how that progresses in that way. And I was a grad student in 2001 or 2 or so, and I was going to my organization, the American Musicological Society, and they have a study group, which was called the GLSG, the Gay Lesbian Study Group. I do remember hanging out on the Cleveland Freenet in 94, 95, and the channel was LGBTF. The F was for friends. Yeah, and the A, back then, when you had A, it was LGBTQIA, was what the extended one was, and that was lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, and allies. So back then, like in the 90s, A was for allies, because allies were really, really important in the fight to fight AIDS. It was like really, really important. So A back then meant allies. People now will tell you that it never meant allies, but that's not true. It did. It meant allies. But we can also think about P flag, parents and friends of lesbians and gays, right? The P flag organization. So like all that was like happening at the time. But I remember that we had the Gay Lesbian Study Group, the GLSG, at the American Musicological Society. ACE is still trying to really get recognition and acceptance. Well, what's tricky about that, no, Zanzibar did not mean ACE, because ACE was not an identity in the 1990s. ACE is a brand new identity. It's very, very new. It has not existed very long. And that does not mean that there weren't people who were asexual. There have always been people who are asexual. But it was not an identity. It did not become an identity until... I don't want to get my dates wrong. I feel like it's the end of the 2000s, but let me just double check. Hold on. There we go. Basically, asexuality did not start becoming an identity until the 2000s, right? It wasn't, and it started in the 2000s becoming an identity, but it didn't really take off until later. The Asexual Visibility and Education Network is founded in 2001, but it doesn't really become a thing really until Tumblr. That's when asexual as an identity really becomes a thing, as the way that we understand asexuality today. Although asexuality as identity has already gone through some really radical shifts in the last 10 years, it is now very, very different than what it used to be 10 years ago. So it's already gone through some pretty radical redefinitions in the last 10 years as well. Yeah. Well, that's not true, Trooper. I know a guy in Cleveland who was there 94, 95, who actually did describe himself as asexual. And he was also hot. It was really unfair for a young, confused teenage girl. I understand that, but as like a modern identity, it was very, it's very new. You didn't really have. By 2012, it's a real, full-on way that we understand it to this day. Now there were people talking about asexuals earlier than the 90s. The 90s is when a lot of things are happening, right? But it didn't become a big thing until about 2001, which is again right at the tail end of the 90s. There are some asexual manifestos from the 1970s, but that is not asexual in any way that people now would understand it at all. They were coming out of the political lesbian, radical lesbian space, and it was asexuality as a political stance, not as an identity. Yeah, Krellin, you are right. He was on the, I think he was in the vanguard. And actually, I was talking to a friend of mine about like ace being a legitimate identity in the early 2000s, and he did not even know about it yet. Like it was still becoming a thing. But yeah, like, so like in the 70s, there were people talking about asexuality, but it wasn't what we understand it today. It was a political identity. It was a choice that you make regardless of your sexuality. Like if you identify as a political asexual in 1975, it had nothing to do with your sexual attraction. It was about not wanting to sleep with the patriarchy, right? That like if you are really political, you choose not to have sex with people. It's really voluntary celibacy is what it is. Because having sex is patriarchal and bad for you. So regardless of what your feelings are or your desires are, just don't do it because it's not good for you. And that was like a radical position, but that is not what people mean by asexual now. That's really different from what people mean. So, but that's how, that was like, there was some kind of discussion about it. And then there was like a space where, and here's the thing, and when I say about identity, I want to be very clear. I do not mean that there were no people who did not feel sexual desire or romantic desire. That is not what I mean at all. Of course there were. But what I mean is it wasn't an identity. And there are many things that were not identities that become identities, or that were once identities that are no longer identities. And it's just the way that, you know, we organize ourselves around community and activism. There were a lot of people who were not interested in sex, and then they just didn't have sex, but it wasn't an identity that they did not identify, that was not a part of their identity. But it starts becoming one, right? Yeah, he was definitely the new form of ace, yes. With the whole just, I'm not really into that. Maybe because he was so hot. I mean, like, people were literally throwing themselves at him hot. Oh, so he probably not under the shield, yeah. But also I think that, I will say, it was probably, I'm gonna give you a thought. And this is my theory, which you can agree or disagree, but this is my theory about this. It's something that I think about a bit. I think that, so Kinsey, who said a lot of things, many of which were actually good, people don't actually even talk about, says that more people are queer in some way, right, than people will admit to. I admit I didn't know the guy very well. I'm also a girl that wanted him. It's fair. But it is harder to know that you are, how do I put this? If you are a gay man well, you're a boy, let's say you're a kid, and you're gay, and you are very feminine, you are probably going to find out much faster that you are not heterosexual than if you are a 14-year-old gay boy who's very, very, very macho. Because people will tell you, if you're a feminine boy, people will tell you real fast that there's something different and wrong about you. And so it's much harder, it's harder and easier to come out if you're feminine, because it's very clear that there's something not the same about you. It's also much harder, I think a lot of bisexual people, it's harder for them to come out because we live in a society that's very monosexual focused. And so people are like, oh, well, but I do like, this other gender, so I suppose I must be straight, right? So it's harder to come out because like the contrast is not there. So I think one of the reasons why this guy is probably on the vanguard of ace identity, I would guess, is because A, he's a man, and men in our society are assumed to always want to have sex all the time. At least now, that wasn't the case in the 18th century. This idea of men being hypersexual is a fairly new invention. It's part of the invention of modern masculinity, but it wasn't, it's like 19th century. That's like not how people thought about men before the 19th century. But within our modern gender sort of setup, people tend to think that men think about sex all the time and all they want is sex all the time. And if he's really hot, then people are going to be coming at him a lot. So I think that it would probably be because of all of those things about him, all those things that say you should want to have sex all the time, it was probably more clear to him that he did not want to have sex, right? Because that contrast would have been starker for him. So it might have been in some ways easier for him to realize that this is who he was and what he was about earlier because because he had all of those expectations that were not working, right? So I think it's just sometimes harder to know that you're different when a lot of the other external things all fit. And I think that's my guess, is that he happened to be of a series of circumstances that made it more apparent for him, is what I would guess. Yeah, they would tell you that even if you were straight back in the days. Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah, absolutely. But I would also say that it might be harder for like an old school woman to realize that she's asexual because society tells women they're not interested in sex in the first place, right? That's like part of the, right? That like, oh, women don't like sex. Women don't like, people, incels say it all the time. And they're like, oh, women don't actually like to have sex. What's his face? What's his face? What's his face? The guy, what's his face? He went to UCLA with me. He was an undergrad at the time. He did that whole thing about how women don't actually have orgasms. Ben Shapiro. Shapiro, that's the one. Ben Shapiro, yeah. He's like, women don't actually like to have sex or have orgasms. My wife doesn't have orgasms. She doesn't have to have sex. And I was like, oh, Ben Shapiro, that's not about women. That's about you. Yeah, short version, it's easier to know who you are the more you deviate from the norm, whatever the norm is at the time. Absolutely. Yeah, Arissa, that's what he said. Fixer says, very much that. Why it was easy for gay women to justify not liking men, think they're not supposed to enjoy sex with men. Absolutely, right? Yeah, absolutely. So I think that in some ways, if there's like a social model that you fit into, it's harder sometimes to tell. Which is why, like, I think it's harder for some folks to come out than others, right? Like, I know a lot of people who are, like, I know, so trans men who are gay and also feminine, they had a really hard time coming out for a really long time because they're like, well, I like dating men and I like wearing dresses, so I suppose I'm just a straight woman. It doesn't feel right, but I can't point to anything, right? It took a long time. Like, they had a really hard time coming out because all the things that people said that women are supposed to do, they did, but they still weren't women, right? They were just gay men who maybe wanted to be drag queens. And like, that was really hard for them to come out, right? It was harder for them to come out than somebody who really hated wearing dresses. You know what I mean? And so that's just one of those things where I'd like to, I don't know, to have some kind of empathy for people who are going to have a harder time coming out. And yeah. Women just don't like to have sex with Ben Shapiro. I think that's the truth, Max Ryder. The self-report he did there, yeah, I was like, oh, Ben Shapiro, kind of sad for you right now, but I'm more sad for your wife. Hawkeye said, had a friend in high school that was the opposite as well. He had some effeminate tendencies, so people kept throwing gay slurs at him. Yes, even though he was very much straight. Yes. It was a sad thing, but he made it through, moved away, got married, and had first. And actually, see, Hawkeye, that's also true. I actually wrote an article about this. It's a really short little article about the ways in which, because we don't see people having sex with other people, we tend to decide what somebody's sexuality is based on their gender cues. So if they deviate from gender norms, we tend to think that they're queer. But that is no good, because not all queer people deviate from gender norms. And also there are people who are straight who deviate from gender norms. And so that, like, using that as a shorthand ends up erasing a lot of people and making it really hard for a lot of people to sort of know who they are and to exist. And also a lot of gender norms are based on middle class urban middle class gender norms, right? So there are a lot of like working class rural women who do not read properly ladylike, and people might be like, oh, I don't know about that. Or like German men, European men, continental European men read gay for Americans, but they're not, right? So there's a way in which our using a shorthand of gender variance to sort of read sexual variance is not great, was basically like it can be used to find other people like yourself, but it also is actually, it's not great. It's not great. I know why people do it, but like the whole article is about like what is lost when we just sort of use that as a shorthand, because it makes it harder for a lot of people, including somebody like your friend Hawkeye. Yeah. And there was a guy, he was a straight man, he was married, and he and his wife were getting off a bus, and his wife asked him to hold her purse for him while she had to get something. And so he was holding her purse, and somebody shot and killed him because they thought he was gay, because why else would a man hold a purse? And so like there's a way in which there's a lot of like really sort of like, he was killed in a homophobic hate crime, but he was a straight guy, right? And so there are these ways in which this sort of thing is very complicated, and it's often tied into weird gender things. It's terrible. Yeah, I remember the entire internet laughing at how he'd never give his wife an orgasm at the time. I dealt with that a bunch growing up, says Zanzibar. Turns out I was just not neurotypical. You know, Zanzibar, that's another thing, right? Like there's a lot of people who have a hard time recognizing their neuroatypicalness because of our ideas of what it means to be not neurotypical is this one thing. So it's one of the reasons why representation is so important, actually, because it's really hard for you to know where you're coming from if you don't get to see any kind of representation to know, oh, that's what that is. You know what I mean? This was back in the late 60s, the 70s. Yeah, Hawkeye, that was a rough time. That was a rough time. Hey, actually, do you know anything about the Hardy Boys?
Los Hardys?
Yeah.
They're an independent militant group.
Oh.
A bit too high-strung, but it comes with the responsibility.
Okay. So,
They're sort of like you. Preserve the rule of law and all that. Except it's Everard's law. But really, they're just like you.
you know, Hawkeye, this is really interesting. There are some really good articles that I've read about masculinity in the, like, look, side note, quite quick side note, I actually do quite a lot of I tell people that I do like gender, sexual, like when in my studies, I do gender, sexuality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's true. But when I say gender, I actually don't mean that as just a euphemism for women. I actually do mean it as gender. And I do a lot with masculinity studies. And there is some really interesting stuff about the way that masculinity shifted at the end of the 18th century and into the 19th century. 19th century, really, because with the rise of the middle classes, there became a lot of anxiety about not seeming like the aristocracy, trying to carve a different kind of masculinity than what had come before. And that's when there's a big shift in masculinity. And what's really interesting is that the kind of masculinities that were allowed for men, right, Europe too, but in the United States, had a lot more variety in them. And there was a whole space for bookish men who were sensitive and thoughtful and nerdy in churchiness, right? So there's like a whole space for like a thoughtful Christian man who was going to be peaceful, not violent. There was a whole sort of like a form of masculinity that was popular with sort of like in the First Great Awakening, right, in the U.S., 1700s, there was a kind of like Ichabod Crane, right, a kind of a very thoughtful, kind masculinity that was tied into being religious, especially Protestant, often Quakers as well, but like a bunch of different Protestant denominations, not exclusively Protestant, but like there was part of the really, because the United States was part of the big movement of a kind of a soft and thoughtful and intellectual masculinity that was like that was quite acceptable to be in the 1700s and in the early 1800s. But then there was this thing that started happening with the rise of the Industrial Revolution and the rise of the middle classes, and this whole kind of weird crisis around like cultural crisis, that particular kind of masculinity that was a completely acceptable masculinity, that was people could just do that and it was fine, became put down and attacked. And with that was the rise of what they called muscle Christianity or muscle Protestantism. There was a whole sort of like movement towards muscle Protestantism, which was like about pushing away the kind of gentle, intellectual Protestant thinker and becoming like a Protestant woodsman. Like there was like, and most of these people were not actually working class or woodsmen. They were like the brand new middle class who had anxiety around a lot of things, right? And so there was like there was more variety of masculinities available to people before the 19th century, and I just thought that was super interesting, like that particular kind of shift that happened, right, in the 19th century, which I just think is like super interesting.
Los Ardis? They're an independent militant group.
Oh, I said that. Yeah. Okay, thanks. I probably should have asked him why they're striking. I should ask them that, because he might give me something that he didn't tell me before.
Wondering, man?
Yeah.
We're negotiating our share.
Yep. Let's see. Now that I'm thinking about it, the channel might have first been GLBTA. The GLBTF might have been the rebrand, which makes sense, actually. Yep. And also masking subconsciously. Yes, if you don't know it's a thing, you may not realize the source of your differences. Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's so many neurodivergences that are not visible, right? And if you don't realize, you don't realize, right? Yeah. I also think, so for example, I was just, because you know how not everybody has an internal monologue? Apparently scientists have only discovered that recently, in the last 10, 15 years, that they didn't actually realize that not everybody had one until more recently. So there are all these things we just don't even know because nobody thought to ask, because you think that your way of perceiving the world is the way everybody perceives the world, but then it turns out it's not. So that's really fascinating to me. Hawkeye says, the ironic thing is we were both Christians and he was an inspiration to me. After graduation, he told me that I was his inspiration, how to make it through. Oh, Hawkeye, I was floored when he told me that. That's very sweet. Yeah. Zanzibar's like, legit talking about my dad. Right, that was a form of like, that was a legitimate way of being, but then we got really weird, and it ties into militarism, actually. Basically, it ties into nationalism. That's really what this is all about, and capitalism. Krellin says, apparently football, gridiron, American form, was pushed by TR and others at the time as a way to toughen up what they considered weak, unwarlike version of manhood that was dominant in the country at the time. Yes. Right, so they're all, like, the kind of masculinity that we have right now, please note, we have more than one masculinity right now. There is more than one. We do not have a unitary one. We just have there's a hegemonic masculinity, but there's more than one. There's upper class masculinity is not the same as middle class versus working class. Rural is not the same as urban masculinity. Jewish, Catholic, Protestant masculinities are not the same. There are a bunch of different masculinities. Like black masculinity is not the same thing as there are different, we do not have only one. There's not a unitary masculinity. There's a lot more variety than people would give credit for, and that's a bummer that we don't recognize it. But yes, there's a whole anxiety, and there's a lot of push to toughen people up, which is tied to capitalism, though. That's the thing, because this new masculinity happens with the rise of the Industrial Revolution, the rise of capitalism, post-feudalism, right? The post all that stuff, right? And it's really about getting people to do certain kinds of work that they would not have been doing before, right? There's a whole there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that is like very convenient for people who want you to work in a mine and not complain about bad working conditions, you know? We rarely know how much we may mean to others, I feel. Yeah. Fixer says, when wanting to educate a guy on how modern masculinity is a new thing, I point towards Spartans, who they usually consider to be manly. Yes. Yes, Fixer. Yes. Wondering, I feel this myself. Absolutely. And Rissa says, I've been doing more to learn about ADHD autism because my roommate, and I've started wondering about things I remember from childhood college. It made me wonder if there's any benefit to any test myself. You probably should. Might as well. You know what I mean? And the thing is, especially if you're able to, I don't even want to say mask, but cope. If you have really good coping mechanisms, then you may not even realize it, but that doesn't mean, when I went to get my testing for ADHD, I was like, yeah, but I've been able to do all the things. I've been very successful. And she said, okay, but how hard was it? I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's hard, but it's hard for everybody. And she's like, no, it's not. And I was like, what? She's like, it actually isn't that hard for everybody. And I was like, oh. Oh. And like, if you think that everybody is struggling the same level as you, that's just the normal way of doing it, you may not realize actually that's just not true, actually. Right? So like, it's really easy to not know, especially if nobody talks about it. If nobody talks about it, then you just think that's just how it is. And so it's hard for you to know that maybe there's a way for you to just like actually get better code. Like you can find out things. Wait, so not wages or pensions or?
They already covered.
At least you got the benefits. That's something.
Not enough. Not enough to get ahead. More about keeping us in our place.
Huh. Well, how large of a share would you like?
All of it. However, right now we want all the harbor workers to be on the company's board, so they could take part in the decision-making process.
Yeah.
This seditious talk sounds like communism. Just so we're on the same page. Communism is basically wanting to kill the rich people or deporting them to a labor camp in Southeast Iran. But don't say that out loud if you're a communist.
Yeah, I don't. That's rhetoric. I don't believe you. The boss man, Everard. What can you tell me about him?
I think it's best you make up your own mind now that you've met him. In my eyes, he is a capable organizer and a decent businessman.
Well, what does bossing the union entail anyway?
I guess you kind of get to be the village chief. He oversees the harbor, makes deals with the owners or other relevant parties. Watches out for his own.
By that, you mean corruption?
By heavens, why would he not be corrupt? We live in a harsh, disordered world, see? And in this world,
I see.
the old man is corrupt for our benefit.
I see.
Appreciate it even. He is, personally, not too lavish.
Well, that does seem lavish to
He
me.
is reasonably lavish, sure. That's his prerogative. It's not like you want a saintly demeanor on a corrupt motherfucker. That would be a manipulative illusion.
Fair.
Besides, there are no non-corrupt systems in the world anyway. And moralism is the most corrupt of them all.
Interesting, Mañana.
This man has political theory, and it has not failed him today.
I'm not going to ask if you're a communist. Why would I ask? He's clearly a communist. It's like, I don't feel like I need to ask him if he's a communist because he is. Why would I ask him? I'll just say, got the picture. Let me ask you something else. Thank you, 30. A gust of wind blows through his hair.
This was great. You feel mentally reinvigorated.
I really do. Let's go. Thanks. I feel good about it. Speaking of which, since I'm here, I feel like what I need to do is... by the way, Simon has played this game and I have not. So, here's what we're going to do. We are going to check my... I'm only 9 points away from another skill point. I just want you to know that I'm so close. And when we get the ability to get a new skill point, we're going to go and open up another one of these thoughts, because there's a thought that I think is really important. I think it's jamais vu, derealization, because it says, this feels like the most important of all the thoughts, the one you truly must complete. And if they tell me I need to complete it, we're going to complete it. So we're going, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to get an actual art degree, Jamrock Shuffle. We're going to do all those things. It's going to be very excellent. But I think we do need to go where? I think we're gonna go and check out that the backyard wall. We can't do that right now. Maybe later. I mean, I could do that crime novels. I could do the punch clock payphone. I don't know about that. We could get that simmer and butter. Like, I feel like there are a couple of things that we could probably just take care of right now. Yeah, I think we should head over to the Samar. Oh, I don't think we can do the Samar and butter place yet, because I actually think we have to wait till tomorrow to do that. So let's do... what time is it? Not in real life, in the game. Oh, it's 9 o'clock! We're gonna go talk to the guy in this shop. The guy in the, what do you call it? It's after 9, which means we can talk to the guy. There's a guy in the what do you call it? Apartment block. There's an apartment block guy, and we're just gonna go and talk to him. I don't think we can get in this way. I think we have to go around the other way. And that'll be like what we do. I'm very excited about it. Also, I might show you all something, depending on how I feel. Didn't we get so much game done today, everybody? It's a way to make men no longer realize that they are being abused by the system. Absolutely. That is absolutely what it was. It was like, hey, real men don't complain about the fact that we overwork them and put them in unsafe working conditions. And you're like, really? Another splattering of bullet holes on this wall. I also feel like, everyone, that this is the door we're supposed to unlock, but I'm not going to unlock that right now. Instead, I'm going to go into this apartment complex. Spartans were basically what nowadays are the workout muscle gays. They are, yeah, I didn't realize I was neurodivergent or that was a thing until I caught a Pat Rothfuss stream a couple years ago about it, and it kept checking boxes off my head. Yeah, and I think that that's one of those things, right? We really have to, there's just a lot that we, ooh, balcony. And that is why representation is important. Yeah. Learned early on in the 7 Laws series by Stephen Covey to get out of the habit of writing others' biography with my autobiography. Yeah. Ooh. Hey. You hear distant traffic. Night is falling on the city. A maroon glow of light pollution rises from the east. Feeling very excited about my life right now. Let's go and talk to this person. Thoughts. Yes. It's after, it's also after 9 in reality. Convenient. Wait, I didn't want to go that way. Gotta go back out to the balcony. Okay, here's where we go. Oh, I know where we are. I know exactly where we are. Good times, everybody. We're gonna talk to this fella. When I think about the construction of masculinity, all real connections...
You found me.
Hi. The young man on the balcony gives you a bright smile before taking another drag from a cigarette. One of the ways when I think about the construction of masculinity, I think about like pointing out like this, like silly things that are really obvious. Like in the 19th century, blue was for girls and pink was for boys. And you would never put a boy in blue because blue is clearly a color for girls and pink is clearly a color for boys, right? Like, and that we just don't think that now. If people are really into that, people who are like really like into traditional gender norms, I like to bring that one out. And I was like, just so you know, blue and pink are just colors, right? We flip-flop them sometime in the early 20th century. Like that's just not right. And it was actually normal for boys to have long hair and wear dresses until they hit a certain age. Like that's just kind of like to really sort of like think about the ways in which our ideas are clearly based in time and space. Like that's just obvious if you know anything about history, right? That's just what it is. Like, yeah. I also thought it was really interesting that before the 19th century, people thought that men did not think about sex, but women did. That women were really, really sexual, hence the Jezebel, that kind of a thing, and men were not very sexual. And that the reason why men needed to sort of like keep a grip on women is because they were just too sexual. They were just always like, but you also had to watch out for them because they would corrupt you because they were sexual and men were not. And now we think of it the opposite way, right? In the same way that we also think about, there was a time also in the like 18th century, et cetera, when children, so like people, Disco says, it's fun pulling up that picture of Franklin Delano Roosevelt in a dress, right? Right, because also dresses weren't always for women. Like these things are social constructs. And I know that people will be like, oh, I was like, no, look, what's the difference between a kilt and a skirt? It's a social construct, right? You know what I mean? Like it's just clothing. Do you know what I mean? It's just clothing. We give it meaning, and so therefore it has meaning, but it's not like that meaning is always going to be that way. And it hasn't always been that way. People don't dress the way they did 200 years ago. Heels were originally for men. You know what I mean? Like that's just kind of, something being a social contract doesn't make it unreal. It makes it changeable. Exactly. It just makes it changeable. And the thing is, if you want to go with, let's say maybe Judith Butler, she doesn't think that social constructs are easily changeable, right? That she doesn't actually think that you can just be like, well, like for her, because she's a little bit less, she's a little bit grimmer, right? Or actually, I think Judith Butler now goes by different pronouns. I think Judith Butler has come out as a non-transitioning trans person, and I believe Judith Butler now uses different pronouns. What pronouns are they using right now? Let me see if I can find out. They, them now. They are legally non-binary, and it's 2020. They are now using both they, them, and she, her pronouns, but prefer they. Okay. Yeah, Judith is they, them. Apparently also both, but prefers they, them. So Judith Butler says that these things are social constructs, but you just can't willy-nilly as an individual change a social construct by yourself. You can't just decide that the social contract doesn't exist and it doesn't exist. They, them. And I feel like that's an important thing, right? Like they were saying that, yes, gender is a social construct, but one individual can't just be like, never mind. Just like you can't just decide that money isn't real and then have that be a thing, right? That social constructs have the weight of an entire society behind them. And so in order to change social constructs, it often takes time and a lot of work. It's actually very difficult to change social constructs. And like it takes work. Like basically, I think what they were trying to say is it actually takes work if you actually really want to do and change social constructs so that men have more options for feelings. You know what I mean? Like it actually takes a lot of work because these things were constructed with a lot of effort, right? Like the kind of current gender norms that are the hegemonic gender norms have been in place for what, 200 years, 200 and some years, and are being constantly reinforced by magazines that want to sell you things. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it has weight. It is real. Like as Carlin says, it's real, right? Social constructs are real. A house is also a construct, and it is also real. Like if I run my head into it, I'm going to hurt myself, right? So it's just like thinking about, like these things are real, and they're not solely individual, right? You can be who you want to be and identify who you want to be, but you know what though? People get punished, like Hawkeye was saying. Like Hawkeye was saying that his friend who did not conform to gender norms of that time and place got mercilessly bullied. And so society as a whole tries to reinforce these things that they have constructed and keep them the way that they are. Society can change though, and it does. Society has changed. Our norms are not exactly the same as they were 40 years ago. And so there's always the chance that we can make something better and get to a space where more people have the ability to express who they are and freely and without fear and shame. We can do it because we are doing it. You know what I mean? It's just that it doesn't happen by itself. We have to work to make it happen. We have to approach people with love. We have to reinforce these new ideas. And we could lose if we don't get enough critical mass. But we can do it. We just actually have to do it. You know, it just doesn't happen by itself. That's all. But it's doable because it has been done. Yeah. Krillin says, oh, yeah, society has a ton of momentum. I agree with that. Absolutely. Kilts are more expensive since sends more. Yeah. Judas says, they, them. Yep. Money is real enough. It is. Prax says, it also takes understanding of why those social contracts came to the front and how they're interdependent. Absolutely, Prax. Right? Like, you have to know you have to understand the thing. You cannot dismantle or change or adjust a thing if you don't know what it's doing. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, because if you try to go and do a thing you don't know what it's doing, you might do something else than the thing that you want. Do you know what I mean? And that's no good. And Carl says, oh, that's a great image. People with non-conforming identities are slamming their heads into the social construct of normalcy and getting hurt. Yes, that's what it is, right?
His slender figure is backlit by city lights, its distant streets and motorways flashing like diamonds.
I love the writing in this game.
It feels like a Friday. He seems to be in a good mood tonight.
Hold on, fake cigarette. We got your hint. Found the key right under that stone.
Beautiful.
He replies, smiling. As he looks at you, something sparkles in his
So
eyes.
tell me, are you here to make things right again?
Oh. And there's always a cost. And you know, and the thing is, I was thinking about this, right? The writing is good and plentiful. Oh, it really is. When I was in the army, right, and I was 19, 20, I was not hanging out in heteronormativity, which was really great for me because it was kind of messed up. But I didn't have to deal with it because it was not applicable to me at the time. But I was interested in it because I had so many friends. And I remember getting a copy of Maxim and Cosmo because I was like, I should read this and figure out what it's all about. And I remember reading Maxim and Cosmo, and it made me very sad. And I picked those two magazines because that's what all of my peers in the army were reading. Like, all the dudes I knew were reading Maxim, and all the gals were reading Cosmo. And I was like, well, let me read this and let me see what's up. And I read it, and I was like, this is really sad. This makes me very sad. Because, like, the Cosmo had advice, like, do you want to, like, find love? Well, here's our advice. If you want to find love, never tell the guy you're on a date with what you actually think about anything, because he won't like that. Compliment him, laugh at his jokes, ask him about himself, never talk about yourself, because guys don't like it when girls talk about themselves or their jobs. So don't. Just ask him about him. And I was like, that is really depressing and sad. Also, don't eat a steak. Eat a salad, but don't eat a steak. Like, all this stuff about what to do to make guys like you. And then Maxim had the exact same thing. Maxim had this article about, guys, do you want to not die alone? Do you want to find love? Well, if you want to find love, these are the things you can drink in a bar and the things you can't drink in a bar. Don't drink wine. If you drink wine, women will never, ever want to date you. You can drink beer, but not cheap beer. You can only drink craft beer. Like, it was at the time, it was like a Heineken. You can drink a Heineken or a Guinness, but you can't drink Coors or Budweiser, or no one will ever want you. You can drink hard liquor, but never with a mixer. The only mixer you can have is Jack and Coke. Other than that, you can never have cocktails. If you have a cocktail, no woman will ever love you. And I was like, this is terrible. And the thing is, the people that I knew who were reading this were 18. They did not have a love experience with dating. And they're reading these magazines to try to figure out how to be so they aren't alone, right? And the magazines also said things like, ladies, does that guy in the bar drink a cocktail? Don't date him. That's a red flag. And like, fellas, does that gal of yours only talk about her work? Never date her. And so they're telling, and also buy our magazine. We can tell you how to do it. And I was like, this is so awful. If you follow these rules, you're going to marry someone that you don't even know at all, because you've never been honest with them about who you are. And I knew a lot of people in the army who were married to people they didn't know. They were afraid to talk to them and say who they really were, because they were afraid if they were actually honest about who they were. And by the way, who they were pretty decent people. You know what I mean? With fears and hopes and dreams, they were like decent people. But they were told that if they were ever honest about that they would not be loved. And they wanted to be loved. And like, that was so tragic to me, because I was like, they all got divorced after 2 years, by the way, because they didn't know each other. And it made me really sad. And they did not get these ideas by their own some. Do you know what I mean? They got these ideas from all the movies and TV shows and all the magazines and all the self-help books, all those things telling them who they're supposed to be. And if they aren't like this, they're going to die alone. And I was like, this is really, really awful, because almost nobody I knew was like that. All the people I knew were actually very, very sweet people, very interesting people, but they felt like if they were honest about who they were, they would never find love. And that was really, really sad to me. Yeah. Thank you, Tenrissa. Yeah. Cosmo's the worst place for relationships advice. Yeah, it's no good. And then they wonder why the divorce rate is so high. Yeah, well, also and they all got divorced. They got divorced because they did not know each other at all. They all got married at 18 to people they've been dating for like 2 months, and they did not know each other. Like and they followed advice that was basically lie about who you are and never be honest about who you are. Because if you are honest, then you're not good enough, right? And it was just terrible. Carl says, if you're not being honest, then you will never be loved. Yes, because the thing they love will not be you. Yes. Yes. Krellin. Yes. This is a thing that I talk about with people who are afraid of coming out to their parents about anything. It could be about sexuality or gender or neurodiversity, anything like this, neurodivergence. They're like, well, I'm afraid that if I tell my parents this thing, then they won't love me. And I was like, but they don't love you. They love their image of you. Like, but I don't want to ruin our relationship. Like, well, you don't actually have a relationship with them. They have a relationship with an image of you that is not who you are. If you want to have an actual relationship with them, where they have to know who you are. And if they are like, it might take them a while to get over it, depending on where they're at. But when they do, they will actually love you. And you will have a better relationship than you had before. And if it doesn't work out, which sometimes it doesn't, then at least you don't have to keep lying. You know? It's just really important, I think. Yeah. Cultural norms have made dating even now a nightmare, especially if you have any difficulty gauging social engagement. Yeah. Derby says, agreed. I got married at 22, broke up due to inability to communicate. Currently married 22 years, commuting lots. That's awesome. That's really good. You know, they always say that people who get married later actually have longer lasting relationships, or you don't have to be married, coupled, right? Longer lasting relationships. And yes, you can absolutely get married young and be fine. I just feel like not if you're never honest with who you are. That's all. You know what I mean? Like that's all I'm going to say. That if you are and I want to say this is really important. The people I know who are dishonest with their partners were not being dishonest because they were malicious or mean. It was because they were afraid and because they were told that the way to date people is to be fundamentally not honest. That is the only way to date somebody, that you cannot share your fears. That no one will respect you. And that they're being told that this is actually not even really dishonesty, it's just how dating is. And so they were never, like, I mean, I knew a couple people who were actually dishonest, but that was different, right? But most of the people who were being dishonest about who they were not doing it maliciously. They were doing it because they really believed, because they were told that this was how you were supposed to be. And yeah, by the way, that's what I'm aiming for, yes.
Beautiful.
And it makes me sad because these are good people. Look, I'm going to be very honest with you. I tend to think most people are good people. I think that most people are good people. They just sometimes really get screwed over. You know what I mean? And hurt people, and trauma can do things to you. And when you get screwed up by forces of society that don't have your best interest at heart, you know, then you can end up doing not great things. But I think at their heart, most people are decent people. And I just think that we live in a space where part of the consumer capitalism that we work in, right? Consumer capitalism is about selling items, consumer goods, right? That's how a lot of our capitalism works, is selling consumer goods. And in order to sell consumer goods, you have to create a desire and a need. And we do that very often by making people feel inadequate. We tell them that they're not good enough, they're not pretty enough or handsome enough or this enough or that enough. And if they just bought our product, they would be better and people would care about them. That is just so awful. Beautiful, he says again. A nearby street lamp casts shadows on his chin, drawing out the slender
I have
cheekbones.
some good news for you.
Ooh.
My Sunday friend is visiting me tonight. I told him about you and he'd like to say hello.
Oh,
Listen, He's already waiting.
Okay. By the way, I'm really digging the view here. I point to the city skyline.
That's why I chose this place. Martinez is special, isn't it?
He looks away, his cigarette end glowing in the dark.
Wait. Suddenly you are digging things?
Hey, I can dig things. Is it Friday tonight? It feels like Friday.
Yeah, it does feel like the end of the week. Such gentle weather.
Well, very well, I'll talk to him, but first I want to talk to you. I have so many questions.
That's nice, but I don't have anything to tell you. It's my friend you're looking for, not me.
Okay.
He takes another drag of his unfiltered cigarette and looks around. It's getting dark, and the neighboring windows have lit up, one by one.
Krellin, you're, not Krellin, pardon me, Wandering DM, are you still here? I have a question for you.
Besides, I've got to run.
Okay.
He's going to leave you alone again. That's sad. Something tells you you're never going to talk to an individual this cool or mysterious ever again.
It reminds me of like, there are a couple of figures that I'm thinking of right now, and I can't place them, but they're like 1950s gay men, like a Quentin Crisp or like a Noel Coward, that kind of a thing. Let's see. My parents married at 18 and a half and 20 and celebrated their 54th anniversary last June. It gives me faith that you can find the right person. Oh, absolutely. But relationships are work. That's it, right? Like relationships are work, and it should be fun and good work. Max has just checked in on all three dogs, going to get them and be ready for bed soon. Are you winning? I am winning, sort of. We're having great conversations. Yes. I love Disco Elysium. I wish balconies were all me. Oh, yeah. Wandering DM, when I lived in Germany, all of my Germans smoke like chimneys, right? Not all Germans, hashtag, but in the 90s, a lot of smoking in Germany. Lots of smoking. They would all smoke Gauloise. And they would often smoke unfiltered cigarettes too. But they would smoke Gauloise a lot. Is Gauloise popular in Quebec? That is the question I wanted to ask you. Because I don't know if it is or not, but it was certainly popular in Germany. That was like the cool cigarette, was like smoking your French cigarette made you very cool. Made you cooler than other people if you smoked Gauloise. I did not smoke. However, everybody in Germany chain smoked so much, and all the bistros, pubs, and bars were so small with no ventilation that I might as well have been smoking, because I smelled like cigarette smoke for 2 days afterwards. It was the worst. No ventilation. Balconies are real. I have a balcony. I just look up Quentin Crisp and holy fuck say, do you see what I'm saying? Like Quentin Crisp, it felt very much to me like that. Let's see. But I just found you again.
Just look at it. It's a beautiful night. Who's going to stay in on a night like this?
He gestures towards the distant motorways, all leading to the Golden La Delta. Well, only if you promise that we'll talk again. It's important.
Something flutters in the corner of the lieutenant's mouth as you're saying those words.
We'll talk. Just not tonight.
The smoker assures you, brushing his hand through the hair.
Take care, all right?
Ooh! Hey, I got to level up. Task gained. Interview the Sunday friend. Ha! Ha ha! He says with another charming smile before slipping off into the night. I would like to point out for the record, we just leveled up. We have good progress for today. I know I should level up my skills, but we're going to go and get that. Where is it? There it is. We're going to get a new one of these skill boxes. And we're going to get the Jamais Vu, the derealization, because they say it's the most important one. So we're going to start working on that. It'll take us 3.5 hours. But they say it's important, so we're going to do it. Also, I can only have 5 more thoughts. And I have many thoughts that I want to have. And I don't know what to do about the fact that I want more thoughts than I have slots for. Like, I really want to get the Jamrock Shuffle because they say it's important. I want the art degree, that's 2. And I really feel like I need this apricot chewing gum scented one. Those all seem very important. That's 3 more. I just don't have... And also there's like a... I feel like there's probably another Mazov situation I need to also have. By the way, I'm going to...
And he's gone again. Looks
Save.
like it's becoming a theme for him.
There's something so different about him that I just can't put my finger on.
Different, of course.
Ooh, all of these are good. I like all these questions. What do I say? His scarf, it was apricot. Oh. You'll love this the project I'm building right now. Every measurement is in metric. Oh, that's cool. I'm wrapping up. I don't want to spoil anything, but I love the way that Harry tries to explain to Kim his fascination with the smoker. Me too. Oh wait, that's this part. Never mind. I'm not spoiling it all. Okay. It's so the shirt is weird. Okay. Yeah. His shirt. Why is his shirt always unbuttoned?
His shirt.
The lieutenant squints his eyes, trying to hold back laughter. Yeah, his shirt.
His shirt.
Yeah.
His shirt.
Yeah.
No, I don't know why his shirt is always unbuttoned.
His mouth tightens as though trying to hold something back. I don't...
He's barely holding it together. It's all he can do to keep from bursting out in laughter.
But...
Come on, detective, let's go. We've got a potential witness to interview. His Sunday friend, remember?
Mm-hmm. He nods at the apartment door before you. So I feel like that is our... We're gonna pause here. Save the game. And here's the thing. I want to show you something. I want to show you all something. Let me... where are we at? We've got a bunch of... Oh, I really need to sleep. We've got a bunch of experience points. We might be able to level up again soon. That's pretty great. Feeling good about our life. We did save. I do have to show you something that's really important. Confirm. I have to show you something. It's very important. Let's see. So, but my T-square is in inches. Oh no. T-squares. I haven't thought about that in a while. So, here's what I'm going to show you. I want to show you something. Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm going to show you this. I just want you to see it. I want you to see my baby, which I had to repair and has not been in good condition for a while, but is now in good condition, and I want you to see it. Okay, I feel like you should see this. You might find this very exciting. I am very excited by it. Oh, I will absolutely make my screen big. 100%. Thank you. Thank you very much for the reminder. So, while I'm opening this up, I will tell you, first off, thank you so much. You all are so awesome. We had such a lovely conversation. This is why I have the best people in this community, the best people in this community out of all the communities. I don't know, that's not true. I don't know all the other communities. I just love my community. This community is great. I really appreciate everybody who hangs out and makes this place a wonderful space to talk about things. It's so nice. And, yeah, it's really good. So, I'm going to be watching Critical Role at 10. And if you want to watch Critical Role and have a chat full of people who are not 20,000 people, you can hang out on my Discord, and then you can chat with the rest of us. And then tomorrow's Friday, and I will be GMing the Gamblers, our Traveler Pirates of Drynex campaign. And I don't know what kind of shenanigans they're going to get involved in. People. My baby. Well, that's my acoustic. This is my electric. I've got more than one banjo. I've got a couple of banjos. They're all different. They all do different things. But I have to show this to you. Are you ready? I don't think you're ready. I don't think you can handle it. It's really amazing. You're gonna die, because I'm gonna die. Oh my goodness. So that's Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern on this channel for the Gamblers, the Traveler Pirates of Drynex campaign. Saturday at noon on this channel will be me finishing up the Outer Worlds, finishing it up. And then at 5 p.m. Eastern over at Praxigo, the Smophoria's channel, will be Death's Agents, a D&D one-shot, part of her Veterans Day charity for Fisher House. And then at Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, will be the premiere of the third arc of Carousel Court. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are open. Thursday, more Disco Elysium. But next week on Saturday will be my 12-hour, 7-year streamiversary with like a lot of cool stuff. So here we go. I'm going to show this to you, and you cannot handle it. I know you can't handle it. I can't handle it. Right? Y'all are dead. Y'all are dead. This is my and so this is a right, a really beautiful, like, this is a Deering Crossfire. And what's interesting about this Deering Crossfire is that it has a tone ring, like a banjo tone ring, and it has a banjo bridge. This is not like electric guitars don't have banjo bridges. So this has a banjo bridge, a banjo tailpiece, a banjo tone ring. It has a resonating chamber. It's much smaller than a regular banjo resonating chamber because this part here is solid body. But what this means is that this does, hold on, let me do that. What this means is that it does actually give you a little bit of a, it does actually make sounds. It's not plugged in right now, but it's a little out of tune. Ooh, there you go. That was it. There we go. So like it does actually give you a quasi, like it does have a, if it's not a full solid body, so it still has a sort of a banjo sound to it. So you can still get. Anyhow, it's my electric banjo, and it's just, I love it, and I'm really happy. Now, I will like you to know that I just changed the strings. It's got brand new strings on it, which means the strings have to stretch out, and I'm gonna have to retune it like a couple of times for it to like, for the strings to sort of stay in there. But this is my electric banjo, and yeah, it's a hybrid, right? It's a hybrid banjo, but it isn't an electroacoustic, which is like just basically an acoustic banjo with a pickup. This actually has got like humbuckers. It's got the whole thing in there. And I was just, and I will do this later. I'll show you another time, not now, but a different time. I don't know when, but I will show you because there's some really cool, what do you call them? Virtual pedals. And I actually showed it to, it's a little off. The strings have to settle. You're playing also to dance. Oh, so the thing is, I love my banjo. But the thing is, I actually found out that I can, okay, hold on. Just give me 1 second, will you? Just 1 second. Like just 1 second. Let me confirm that. Canceling out of that. Let me undo this. I believe, let me see. Just give me 1 second. And then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have some chili. But I believe if I go here and if I go here, I don't know if I can do this. We will see. Okay. Give me a second. Hold on. Banjo content. Nice. It's like 5 minutes of loud music. Chili. No. I'm gonna like it will just 1 second. Wait. I just need this. I want to see if I can show you this. If I can do it, then I'll just show you in a second. I won't even worry about tuning up. So let me do this and then this. I think I got it. Just get. No. Give me a second. And I just need, because here's the thing. Modern day and age, right? Give me 1 second and then I'm gonna go. But I just want to see if I can show this to you because that would be cool. And if I can, this will be useful knowledge for later, because useful knowledge now means better things later. Like just a bit of a. I am just going to plug this in. 1 second. I'm going to give you a tone. I'm going to try to give you a tone. If I can give you a tone, I'm going to feel really good about my life. I'm going to feel like I succeeded in life if I can actually do that. And then I'm going to go and have chili and then meet you all for Critical Role. Again, I'm a little out of tune because the strings are still settling in after, like, they're fresh. They're fresh. They're fresh. Okay, so I just want this. Give me one moment. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Oh, hold on. There. This is also just one of those things you need to be able to do so that, because look, I want to be able to do some actually very cool stuff later. I want input, setup. Where's my setup? Where's my input? Input. I believe what I need to do is go here. I'm going to just check. Because I want you to see this, because I think it's really cool. I think it's going to be in loop back. I think what I need is this. Why am I not coming through? Oh, I know why. Hold on. Sorry that it's out of tune. So sorry for my life right now. Yes. Look, this is a thing. I've got to figure out how to do it, because if I can figure out how to do it, then all my life is good. And it's there. I'm gonna go. I know. I just want to show you because it's so cool. 17 minutes. I got it. Monkey's here and says stop. Okay, hold on. I got that. Which means I just need. Good. I got that. Here we go. Hold on. Work with me. Yeah. Hold on. I got it. I figured it out. I just need to mute one thing and we will be good. Okay, I'm gonna there. Wait, just there and mute that. Okay, and here we go. I think I can do this for you. Let me make sure that it's coming through. Audio for you. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. I got you. All right. Here we go. Let's go with. All right. Can you hear me? Let me send out to you. This is 7, 8. Where's my 5, 8 is up. Here's this. Let me go to 5, 5 mix here. This should, I think I can do this way. Wait. Loop back out. I want you here. I don't think you can hear me. I don't think you can hear me. All right, I gotta go. I'm gonna go. We got 15 minutes. I'm gonna go nuke some food, but I don't think you can hear it. I don't think you can hear it because it should be sounding like, yeah, no, you can't hear it yet. I bet I've got the sound coming through. I just need to figure out the way to get it to you so that you can hear it. And the thing is, it should actually be not, it should like, I should be able to like, this should be coming out through 5, 6 is what it is. Like, that's just where it should be going. It should be going to 5, 6, and I do not know why it is not. Hold on. Hold on. Wait. It's not there yet. It should be coming through, but it's not. I'm going to figure it out, and then when I figure it out, you're going to be able to hear some weird distorted banjo, which is really what I just want to show you. Exciting distorted banjo, because who does not want that? But I will show you weird distorted banjo a later time. And I'm going to go get some chili with some cheddar cheese in it, and then I'm going to see you all for Critical Role. And thank you so much for hanging out with us. Y'all are great. Y'all are wonderful. And all the love, all the time. And I will catch you all on the flip side, everybody. You're the best. Bye.